Naruto, God Rewards Hard Work, Chapter 261. Naruto's aura has been accumulating day by day, becoming more and more heavy and terrifying. The aura of a superior and the confidence brought by strength are enough to change Naruto's temperament. Compared with a few years ago, Naruto now has a royal style. In the eyes of those close to him, Naruto's strength is increasing day by day, but his temperament is not very obvious. In the eyes of others, Naruto is an absolute leader who influences the world. Tsunade frowned and murmured softly, Akatsuki Organization. During the time of Umbrella, Tsunade also understood what kind of existence Akatsuki Organization is. With nearly 10 cage-level strongmen, it is really crazy. The leader of Akatsuki Organization is Nagato, who has the Samsara Eye, but on the surface it is Tendo, the leader of the 6 Paths of Pain. Naruto said in a voice that only the two of them could hear. There was an imperceptible chakra floating in the surrounding space. It was Naruto who blocked the sound. But Tsunade didn't notice it. Pain, Tendo. Tsunade was confused for a moment. Naruto had not mentioned these things to Tsunade, so he slowly told her about them while evacuating. Anyway, if he didn't tell her now, Tsunade would probably know in a few months, so it would be better to let her know now so that she could be mentally prepared. You should remember that Jiraiya took in 3 children in the Land of Rain. Naruto said slowly, as if waiting for Tsunade's answer, and Tsunade frowned slightly and then relaxed, as if she had thought of something. It's him, Nagato. No wonder I feel familiar. Tsunade clapped her hands and said immediately. Then Tsunade asked hesitantly, but why did that kid become the leader of this Akatsuki Organization? And why does he have the Samsara Eye? Isn't that the eye that only the 6 Paths sage has in the legend? Hearing Tsunade's 3 consecutive questions, Naruto didn't feel annoyed, but said playfully, "Is this related to one person?" Tsunade asked curiously, "Who?" "Shimura Danzo." "What? Shimura Danzo? Why is he everywhere?" Tsunade was speechless for a moment. Why did she feel that all bad things were inseparable from the existence of Danzo? Indeed, Danzo is really bad. The Akatsuki Organization was founded by Yahiko in order to bring peace to the ninja world, but because of Danzo, so. Naruto slowly told the story of the past, which made Tsunade very angry. Danzo, this guy, died cheaply at the beginning. Tsunade couldn't help but shake her hand, and she was helpless in her heart. She really couldn't complain about Danzo. This guy probably had a black heart. Let's not talk about this for now. As Akatsuki has developed to this point, we have to mention someone. Naruto pretended to be mysterious. Who? Tsunade said in surprise. Let's not talk about this. The person is definitely someone you can't imagine. But the story is very tortuous and interesting. Naruto laughed. Black Zetsu used Madara, Madara used Obito, and Obito used Nagato. It's just an infinite nesting doll. But some people say that Obito is no longer the sunny boy he used to be. He naturally has some guesses about Madara's plan. He has been on guard against Madara and doesn't want Madara to be resurrected. He just wants to create a world with Rin for himself. But Madara was resurrected later. Seeing Naruto speed up his pace, Tsunade couldn't help stamping her feet and showing a little woman's attitude. This guy knows how to keep people in suspense. He immediately said, "Then how do you know these things?" This is one of the questions Tsunade wanted to ask the most. Naruto turned his head and said, "Just think that I have some kind of predictive ability, right? Precognitive ability, some kind of blood limit." Tsunade was stunned and murmured. She couldn't help but stop, and when she saw Naruto had gone far away, she hurriedly followed him. Soon, the large army began to evacuate, leaving only some people to clean up the battlefield, and the ninjas of Iwagakure and Kumogakure put the bodies of their companions into the scroll and took them away. The news of the defeat of the ninja coalition spread quickly, causing a shock. Unexpectedly, the outcome of this battle was decided in one day. Umbrella is so powerful. 3 days later. Things are still fermenting. The ninja world is now in chaos, and some small countries are immersed in fear. The news of the fall of the 5 major countries has spread throughout the ninja world. At this moment, the Raikage had already woken up. When he returned to the hidden cloud village, the news he received almost made him angry. The daimyo of the Land of Lightning was occupied by the Umbrella Organization. The daimyo was missing, and the situation of the other 4 kingdoms was similar. The daimyo of the Land of Fire hid in the Fire Temple and temporarily saved his life. How dare they? Did they know how to manage the ninja world? What is there for ordinary people to care about? The hot-tempered Raikage slapped the table immediately. What made him even more angry was that he was knocked unconscious again. It was simply a great shame. Although he said that he didn't care about ordinary people, in fact, if there was a chance for them to rule the entire ninja world, who would not be willing to do so? Did they want to be enemies with the world? They dared to kill the daimyo. Ma Bui, the secretary of the Raikage, also frowned at this moment. The concept of blood supremacy made it difficult for her to understand the crazy behavior of Umbrella. The ambition was too inflated. Even if they wanted the entire ninja world, with the strength of Umbrella, it might take more than 10 years. But how could she guess that time waits for no one? Compared with the threat of the Otsutsuki clan, the battle in the ninja world is just a game of house. At this moment, Obito also learned about the incident from Black Zetsu, and a sense of horror surged in his heart. Crazy, too crazy, the Umbrella guy is a madman. In his opinion, the Umbrella Organization's move is undoubtedly to drag the entire ninja world into the vortex of war. Even ordinary countries are involved. However, he also has a vague fear. The powerful power of the Umbrella Organization makes him feel bad. Uzumaki Naruto is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and his power is also transmitted. How can he collect the tailed beasts in this way? Under his mask, his brows are furrowed on his cold face. He is thinking about whether to let Uchiha Madara revive in the form of impure world reincarnation. With Uchiha Madara's power, it is not a problem to sweep across half of the ninja world. No, Uchiha Madara must not be resurrected unless it is absolutely necessary. Obito looked gloomy, looked into the distance, and murmured, "It's time for Nagato to help." On the side, the 6th-ranked Black Zetsu rolled his eyes, and it was unknown what he was thinking about. However, given his character, he must be planning something. Obito did not see this scene. Under the darkness, the light stretched the shadows of the 2 people long. Chapter 262. On the Umbrella side, Naruto increased his strength and sent personnel to take over the palaces of the 5 major countries. The reason why he has not yet moved on other small countries in the ninja world is that with the current strength, he cannot send out all his strength. Only after resolving the turmoil in the past few months can Naruto free up his hands to take over the ninja world. And by taking down the 5 major countries with the force of thunder, he can temporarily calm the turmoil with the help of the east wind of the Akatsuki organization, and then unify the ninja world with absolute power, let out the extraordinary enemy of Otsutsuki, and under pressure, unify the ninja world much easier. This is the simplest thing, but the human heart is something that is difficult to guess. Umbrella Base. Tsunade and Orochimaru, who returned to the Umbrella organization, were very excited. The perfectly fused Hashirama cells were simply a perfect work. With this experience, Orochimaru's research on the success of injecting Hashirama cells into different people can be greatly increased. Previous experiments were just betting on the extremely small probability with most people, such as Yamato. Everyone's body is slightly different, and the injection of Hashirama cells is naturally different. In the laboratory building, Naruto looked at the excited Tsunade and Orochimaru, and nodded with satisfaction. After studying for so long, he finally got the job done. Go and call Sasuke. Forget it, I'll go by myself. Naruto pointed to a ninja next to him, and then changed his words. Whoosh. Naruto disappeared directly with Flying Thunder God. With Flying Thunder God, Naruto's speed is rarely matched by anyone. Soon Naruto found Sasuke in a forest. Looking at the cold expression on Sasuke's face, Naruto knew that he had been thinking about Uchiha Itachi recently. Naruto, why are you here? Sasuke was startled. This was a very busy time. Naruto should be very busy, and this Naruto was definitely not a shadow clone. Good news. You'll know when you go. Naruto said with a smile, and then put a hand on Sasuke's shoulder. Then, the two disappeared in the woods again. When Sasuke opened his eyes again, he had already arrived at the experimental building. This is the experimental building. Sasuke was shocked. He knew this place. There were many important research projects of Umbrella inside, and the number of barriers was at least 3. Could it be? Sasuke was happy. He thought of what Naruto had told him before. Naruto looked at Sasuke's expression and knew what Sasuke was thinking. He nodded and said, "You were right. That thing succeeded." Sasuke was overjoyed because Naruto said that as long as that thing succeeded, he could open the Mangekyo Sharingan and help him avoid the side effects of the Mangekyo Sharingan. At the same time, and most importantly, he could finally ask Uchiha Itachi for justice. He had also heard Naruto say that the Senju and the Uchiha clan had the same roots and were common ancestors, and that Hashirama Senju was the legendary god of the ninja world who pacified the troubled times. With his power, it might not be difficult to seek revenge. Thinking of this, he showed a hint of enthusiasm and excitement in his eyes. He immediately said, "What do I need to do?" Hearing Sasuke's words, Naruto looked in the direction of Orochimaru Tsunade. The two also knew that the most important thing about this matter was for Sasuke. Orochimaru immediately said with a chuckle, "It will take a day to perfectly integrate Hashirama's cells into Sasuke's body. It's not difficult. You guys come to do the specific operation. I have only one requirement, that is, it must be successful. In addition, arrange for Shisui and others." Naruto said slowly. Naruto dispersed some irrelevant people, and then Sasuke lay on an experimental bed under the guidance of Orochimaru. "Sasuke-kun, drink this thing, you will fall into a deep sleep, and when you wake up, my Hashirama cells will be completely fused." Orochimaru said with interest, which made Sasuke feel a little cold, as if he was stared at by a poisonous snake. Sasuke looked at Naruto, and Naruto nodded, and Sasuke was relieved. Lying on the experimental bed, Sasuke drank what Orochimaru handed over, a glass bottle filled with green liquid, a small glass bottle about the thickness of 2 thumbs. Sasuke drank it down in one gulp, and then felt sleepy, and fell asleep with his eyes half closed. Before falling asleep, Sasuke seemed to see Orochimaru injecting something into his body with a syringe, and then he lost consciousness and fell into a deep sleep. Naruto looked at Orochimaru who had finished injecting Sasuke, and Orochimaru slowly said, "Next, Sasuke-kun only needs 1 day to be perfect. Fusion of Hashirama's cells. Not only that, his chakra volume will probably increase significantly. He may even master the power of wood release." Wood release. This surprised Naruto a little. Even Tsunade was a little surprised, but when she thought about the research process, she didn't care much. After all, even if she mastered wood release, she couldn't reach the level of her grandfather, maybe just Yamato. During Sasuke's coma, Naruto found Yakumo Kurama. After listening to Naruto's story, Yakumo Kurama's eyes twitched. If this thing was done, Sasuke would hate her to death. But she knew that this thing was for Sasuke's good after all. It's better than paying blood in the future. Good price. This time Naruto wants Sasuke to open the Mangekyo Sharingan. With the current Sasuke, there are only 2 ways to open the Mangekyo Sharingan. One is Itachi's death, and the other is Naruto's death. Only in this way can Sasuke feel the extreme sadness and open the Mangekyo Sharingan. If you want to use conventional methods to help Sasuke open the Mangekyo Sharingan, only Kurama Yakumo's illusion can be so real that Sasuke will not notice it. While Sasuke is sleeping, Naruto will set up a magic circle seal to let Sasuke's perception is weakened, and this is combined with Kurama Yakumo's terrifying illusion ability. It is enough to make Sasuke mistakenly believe that it is the real world. And this has a lot of room for operation. This is the most suitable way for Sasuke to open the Mangekyo. The reason why most of the Uchiha clan have abnormal thoughts is not because they are forced to do so, because of the death of their relatives and partners. It can be said that the higher the level of the Sharingan, the easier it is to be affected. Except for a few people, most people will be affected by the Sharingan. Most people say that the Uchiha clan is an evil clan, but in fact, the Uchiha clan is the real clan of love. They understand love and understand love. When they lose it, they will become more crazy and even their thoughts will be affected. Take Uchiha Itachi for example. He was very precocious, and later he opened the Mangekyo very early. In the history of Uchiha, he was probably one of the earliest people to open the Mangekyo. During that period of time, he was deeply influenced by the third generation and others, and at the same time was concerned by Shisui. Under the influence of both parties, he formed his almost twisted thoughts, which can be described in 2 words as extreme. Chapter 263. Under the constant indoctrination of the third generation and others that only when everyone exists can the small family survive, Itachi was brainwashed like crazy. The disbelief of his clan members, coupled with the third generation's persuasion and Shisui's support, made the young him think that he was right. Perhaps even Shisui did not discover Itachi's extreme thoughts, or there was another factor that he did not consider, that is, Sasuke. As a brother control, Itachi often makes unusual moves when it comes to Sasuke. This is the last straw that breaks the camel's back and also leads to the tragedy of Uchiha. If Naruto had not saved some of the Uchiha clan members, I am afraid that the Uchiha clan would disappear in the ninja world 100 years later, which is not surprising in the ninja world. Even the Senju was almost forgotten during the reign of the third generation. It has only been a few years, and in the later period of Boruto, Uchiha has fallen to the point where even Uchiha Sarada, an Uchiha clan member, does not know about it. According to Sasuke's character, it is impossible for him to have too many children. He only has one daughter, Sarada, and his daughter will eventually get married. In the ninja world, a woman who marries a man must change her surname. Unless you are from a big family. Azumi's mother was deprived of her surname because she married out, and because she awakened her bloodline limit, she was given the Uchiha surname again, but she was only a marginal person. This is very common in the ninja world. In order to ensure the purity of the bloodline, most families marry within the family. In the experimental building, Naruto brought Kurama Yakumo to Sasuke. It was almost a day, and this was the best time to cast an illusion on Sasuke. Time passed slowly, and Sasuke slowly opened his eyes. With hazy eyes, he heard someone happily shouting that Sasuke-sama had woken up. When Sasuke was fully awake, he saw Naruto asking about his condition. Sasuke felt warm in his heart and said slowly, "I'm fine, I feel pretty good." Sasuke said happily, feeling the doubled amount of chakra in his body. He was overjoyed, and even his pupil power felt much stronger. Afterwards, Sasuke was pulled by Naruto to discuss things. Soon Naruto told him that if he wanted to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan, he had to go through a battle before awakening. Sasuke felt strange. Why did he feel like he had forgotten something? Things progressed quickly, and soon Naruto told him that Uchiha Itachi had come to the land of rain, and his goal was Sasuke. And this was also an opportunity for him to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan. Thinking of the hatred hidden in his heart, Sasuke quickly agreed with Naruto's statement and went to find trouble with Uchiha Itachi. Along the way, Sasuke thought of his current strength, felt the powerful chakra in his body, and added the various ninjutsu that he had practiced for a long time. A strong sense of self-confidence rose in Sasuke's heart. But now, he couldn't remember why his chakra grew so fast. But now was not the time to worry about it. Uchiha Itachi had already appeared in his sight. He slowly drew out the Kusanagi sword and began to rush towards Uchiha Itachi. Anger began to fill his mind, and the sword in his hand kept slashing at Uchiha Itachi, shouting, "Why? Tell me why. Why did you betray your family? Is the so-called village really that important?" Unlike Sasuke's anger, Uchiha Itachi was surprisingly calm and said slowly, "My stupid brother, is this your capacity? Foolish family, stupid clansmen, there is no need to exist, their only role is to be a stepping stone to measure my capacity." Sasuke was almost crazy when he heard this, and the rhythm of attacking Uchiha Itachi was messed up. He kept slashing, and seeing that his attack did not work, the power of thunder began to spread from his body. Lightning bolts hit Uchiha Itachi, but they were all easily dodged or blocked. At the same time, Sasuke also mobilized the Sharingan, and the three Magatama stared at Uchiha Itachi's figure. At this time, Uchiha Itachi showed a sarcastic look. "My stupid brother, don't you know that three Magatama hitting the Mangekyo is a joke?" Uchiha Itachi's mocking voice came. This made Sasuke calm down, and he said coldly, "If you only rely on the Mangekyo Sharingan, then you will probably lose to me today." Sasuke's voice suddenly rose, and he roared, "My stupid brother, you know nothing about power. Lightning release, a super railgun." Sasuke didn't know when a coin appeared in his hand. Sasuke threw the coin in his hand, accompanied by a force of lightning, and the speed of the super railgun was extremely fast. The faster the speed, the faster the super railgun. The attack of the electromagnetic gun was even more powerful. The next moment, a giant rose from the ground. The bright red giant stood in front of Itachi. Boom! Sasuke's attack collided with Susanoo's body. There was a violent explosion, and smoke and dust rose up. When the smoke dissipated, there was a hole in Susanoo's chest, but the attack seemed to be blocked. Sasuke's heart sank. No, it was blocked, or it was not completely blocked. Sasuke saw the blood at the corner of Itachi's mouth with a startling glance. Sasuke suddenly smiled, and Itachi's indifferent expression made Sasuke angry. "My stupid brother, is your strength limited here?" Itachi's voice came from a distance. On a tree, Itachi's figure turned into a flock of crows and gathered into a human form again. "Oh, is that your partner? If I kill him, will you awaken the same eyes as mine? Only then will you be qualified to become my food." Sasuke glanced at Naruto, who was watching the battle from a distance, then at Itachi, and sneered. Did he think Naruto was a soft persimmon? Itachi turned into a crow and rushed towards Naruto at high speed, and Naruto instantly used the wind style, Rasengan. The powerful wind style hit the crows, and a powerful chakra burst out instantly. Itachi Uchiha was directly knocked out. Sasuke sneered and thought to himself that it was true. Suddenly he heard a voice, "Be careful." Sasuke was instantly surprised. As soon as he turned around, he saw the figure of Uchiha Itachi coming at him at high speed, holding a kunai in his hand, but now he could no longer dodge. He could only watch Itachi stab him, and in his mind he was thinking, who was that figure just now? He closed his eyes helplessly, and the next moment, there was no pain, but a bit of warmth in his hands. When he opened his eyes, Naruto was standing in front of him, blood gushing out of his mouth, a kunai stuck in his chest, straight into his heart, blood dripping down and falling on his hands, warm. Sasuke was full of disbelief, his pupils dilated instantly, the three Magatama quickly rotated, slowly merged into a hexagram. Naruto's body collapsed to the ground. Sasuke hurriedly hugged Naruto's figure, tears instantly flowed, his expression was dull. Then a roar appeared. No. He put his hand on Naruto's chest, trying to stop the bleeding, but he didn't notice that Uchiha Itachi's figure was actually blurred. If you die, what use do I have for this Mangekyo? Wake up, I won't take revenge. Sasuke roared, tears couldn't stop flowing. Chapter 264. Sasuke's tears flowed down his cheeks, and the Mangekyo oscillated violently. Under the strong fluctuation of the Mangekyo pupil power, the whole world was broken like a mirror. The figure of Naruto in his arms gradually faded, and the world turned into nothingness under Sasuke's confused gaze. Next, he felt that the world was dark, and then he felt the light again. He opened his eyes, with tears hanging in the corners of his eyes, and the Mangekyo was revealed, which made Orochimaru marvel. Naruto on the side looked at Sasuke with surprise. His plan really succeeded. And when Kurama Yakumo saw Sasuke's appearance, he felt a little guilty for some reason. Sasuke looked confused, with tears hanging in the corners of his eyes, and was still in a trance. Obviously, Naruto had died in Itachi's hands and blocked the fatal attack for him. Why? Before he could figure it out, the memory in his mind suddenly made him react. He seemed to be receiving an injection of Hashirama's cells. The previous experience seemed to have a sense of illusion. When he saw Kurama Yakumo, he seemed to understand something. Gnashed his teeth and said, "Uzumaki Naruto." He stood up suddenly, his physical fitness was more than twice as strong as before, and punched out. Naruto flew out in an instant and hit the wall heavily. At this time, Sasuke suddenly became worried. Naruto stood up with a smile, and he knew that Sasuke would definitely be dissatisfied. Everything Sasuke had experienced before was a script arranged by him and implemented by Kurama Yakumo. Itachi was very important to Sasuke, and he was also very important to Sasuke. For this reason, when both of them were present, it was easier to arouse Sasuke's emotional fluctuations. Seeing that Naruto was fine, Sasuke was relieved, but instantly became angry again. "You guy, next time, I will definitely kill you," Sasuke said with a cold face, and glared at Kurama Yakumo after speaking. Naruto's death was a huge blow to her, or in other words, not only Sasuke, but Naruto's death was a huge blow to anyone in their group. Anyone can die, except Naruto. Tisk tisk, Hinata will probably be jealous with this look. Tsunade, who was standing by, had a playful expression, but was greeted with Naruto's eye roll. "Okay, it's my fault. It's an emergency. Haven't you always wanted revenge? The Sharingan is the eye that reflects the soul. This is the only way to awaken it. Unless you are willing to spend decades of hard work to awaken the Mangekyo," Naruto said slowly, based on his research and the secret scroll left by the second-generation Hokage. Sharingan will produce yin attributed mental power after being stimulated by negative emotions, and Sharingan will have a peculiar chakra that promotes the evolution of Sharingan. Of course, there is another way, which is what he said above: hard work, spending time to hone mental power, feel emotions, or feel life. It will be a natural process to complete the promotion of the Mangekyo, but at that time, whether you can survive is still a problem. If you don't break through for a long time, it will only drag down your potential and stop at the level of cage. "How's the harvest?" Naruto asked again. Hearing what Naruto said, Sasuke put aside the previous question and turned his attention to his own changes. He was surprised to find that his chakra amount had doubled. Most importantly, his cells were highly active, containing strong vitality, and even his physical fitness had improved. The important thing was that his surging pupil power had now reached the level of Kage, and he was considered to be standing among the top strong men in the ninja world. "My chakra, mental strength and physical fitness have all improved. In the future, the amount of chakra I can extract will be 4 or 5 times more than before. The most important thing is the ability of the Mangekyo," Sasuke said concisely, and Naruto nodded secretly. He was not surprised that the perfect Hashirama cells could have such an effect. According to Sasuke, he should have awakened the sage body, and his endurance was greatly improved. It was considered to have raised Sasuke's upper limit. "What ability did you awaken?" Naruto asked curiously again. It stands to reason that the Sharingan is the eye that reflects the soul, so everyone's awakened abilities are different. After all, there is no identical life. Even a tree, each leaf on the tree is different, at most they are similar. Sasuke glanced at the people present, all of whom were trustworthy, except that he was a little scared of Orochimaru, and felt that this legendary 3 ninjas was a little abnormal. However, since Naruto asked this, it must be that the people present were trustworthy. Intelligence is very important in the ninja world, and eye techniques are Sasuke's trump card. Sasuke slowly said, "My awakened abilities. One is Kagutsuchi, and the other is Amaterasu. Kagutsuchi has both offensive and defensive capabilities, and can control the flames of Amaterasu's form changes, and Amaterasu is known as the strongest physical attack." At this point, Naruto nodded, just like the original. But what Sasuke said next surprised him. At the same time, my Amaterasu has a second form, which can be transformed into blue flames, known as the strongest healing fire. Sasuke said coldly, seemingly calm, but a smile inadvertently hung on the corner of his mouth. "What? How is this possible?" Naruto exclaimed in surprise. Sasuke thought that Naruto thought his ability was too strong and couldn't help but feel a little complacent. Naruto looked at the people around him and knew that his reaction was a bit too much. Sasuke's eye technique has changed compared to the original work. It is almost the same, but different at the same time. Blue Flame, the strongest healing technique. One eye technique with two forms. After being shocked, Naruto regained his composure. After all, the Sharingan is the eye that reflects the soul, which has a lot to do with Sasuke's mentality at the time. Obito felt that it was a false world because of Rin's death, so he awakened Kamui. And Shisui wanted to solve the troubles of the village and the family, so he awakened Koto Amatsukami. Itachi longed to control everything and hoped to have enough power to change the situation. So he awakened Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu. Sasuke's unexpected awakening of the blue flame may be due to his psychology at the time. He longed to control the powerful force and defeat Uchiha Itachi. At the same time, because he was eager to recover Naruto's injuries, the blue flame was born. Naruto was amazed. With the existence of the blue flame, Sasuke's survivability would probably be greatly improved. Since it can be ranked alongside the black flame, which is known as the strongest physical attack, the healing ability should be far above the Palm Immortal technique, and may be comparable to his previous super speed regeneration. He didn't think it could be comparable to his own immortal power. After all, healing is healing, and immortality is immortality. There is a big gap between the two. Moreover, being able to achieve the effect of super speed regeneration is already amazing. Yes, with such an ability, you are the top in the ninja world. Naruto smiled and patted Sasuke's shoulder. With the ability of the blue flame, it is almost impossible for Sasuke to lose a hand like in the original work. Chapter 265. After listening to Sasuke's introduction, Tsunade secretly smacked her lips and called him abnormal. Sasuke's awakened eye technique is like a martial arts supernatural power. In this way, she has accumulated and practiced for decades to get a martial arts supernatural power, but Sasuke now has 2 or 3, which is simply abnormal. It is worthy of being a Mangekyo Sharingan. Orochimaru's eyes flashed with enthusiasm, and he looked at Sasuke as if he was looking at a rare treasure. But soon he met Naruto's sharp eyes, and immediately put away his little thoughts in his heart. Sasuke's ability is indeed enviable, but the guy in front of him is even more unbearable to offend. This guy is probably comparable to Hashirama Senju and Uchiha Madara. Naruto was happy for Sasuke in his heart. With Sasuke's current strength, he is already much stronger. Sasuke's current foundation is much stronger than the original. Kurama Yakumo on the side was also very surprised. With such a powerful ability, I am afraid that her illusion space can no longer control Sasuke. Is this the legendary and famous Mangekyo Sharingan? It is indeed extremely powerful, but my bloodline limit is also not bad, Kurama Yakumo said secretly, and a great motivation surged in his heart. Sasuke couldn't help but clench his fists. He finally had the ability to avenge Uchiha Itachi. Although he already knew everything, he would never forgive Uchiha Itachi's behavior. The family would not forgive him either. Things went smoothly for Naruto, but Gaara encountered trouble. After the demise of the royal family of the Kingdom of Wind, Gaara invited Ebizo out of the mountain again and was responsible for temporarily managing the Kingdom of Wind. And from the current situation, Gaara is already a protective umbrella, which makes Chiyo and Ebizo not know what to say. Gaara's prestige is unprecedentedly high. There are many talents recruited, and most of the ninja families in the village are related to the Seven Colors Chamber of Commerce. With the defeat of the Ninja Coalition, Umbrella's strength is the best in the ninja world, and it intends to get involved in the ninja world. Under desperation, Chiyo and Ebizo no longer care. And with Gaara's deliberate revelation, they have seen the strength of Umbrella. Since they can't resist, just lie down and enjoy it. The Wind Country is relatively poor, so Naruto still spent a lot of money to transform the Wind Country. The Wind Country is now undergoing huge changes every day. Relying on oil, the Wind Country can be said to still have huge financial resources, although Naruto will take most of them away. But as Umbrella developed something like cars, it was welcomed by many wealthy people. It soon replaced the existence of horse-drawn carriages. There are many cars in industrially developed areas. Now that Umbrella has conquered the 5 major countries, there are naturally people who resist, but those people are not ninjas, and the small ninja villages dare not touch the tiger whiskers of Umbrella. For some nobles, Naruto did not choose to target them, but protected their rights and interests. Some of them were wooed, and some were suppressed. They also accepted the change of ownership of the kingdom. As for those who did not accept it, they had already gone down to accompany those who were loyal to the kingdom. What followed was that the Industrial Revolution began to transform the backward areas crazily, and the first thing to be carried out was road construction. Naruto was rich and powerful, so he directly used Earth Escape ninjas to build roads, and then pave the road surface with cement. As long as the cement was prepared, the Earth Escape ninjas directly controlled the cement to be laid on the road surface, and then flattened it, and finally the Fire Escape ninjas quickly dried it. A brand new cement road surface was built. This speed made the flower growers in the previous life shake their heads. The Wind Country is a desert country, and road construction is more troublesome. Gaara is currently supervising the repair of the road surface. With the joint efforts of ninjas and ordinary people, the Wind Country also quickly built an asphalt road. But at this time, 2 uninvited guests came. It was Deidara who was responsible for capturing the One-Tail and Obito who was dressed as Afe. Deidara did not attack without thinking. He launched the attack after investigating Gaara's whereabouts in the past few days. There were only a few hundred people in this place, and the others were also repairing the road. It was the best time to attack. Ha ha ha, you Deidara are here. Art as explosion. Deidara rode on his clay bird and laughed loudly. There were 2 mouths growing in the center of his palms. After being chewed and swallowed by the mouths, the special clay formed an explosive clay that could make a huge explosion. Deidara kept scattering C1 bombs, and the dense C1 bombs were scattered, and violent explosions occurred. Boom, 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 boom. Enemy attack, enemy attack. The sand village quickly took action, and Gaara used magnetic escape to fly into the sky, while waving his hand to lift up a large piece of sand to defend against the attack of the C1 bombs. Seeing that the real master finally came out, Deidara laughed excitedly and controlled the clay bird to fly quickly towards Gaara. Soon, Deidara summoned the C2 flying dragon again, jumped onto the descendant of the C2 flying dragon, and the clay bird was controlled to rush towards Gaara, followed by a violent explosion. A cloud of smoke formed to wrap around Gaara, and when the smoke dissipated, a cloud of sand appeared in Deidara's sight. Deidara did not intend to deal with Gaara like this. Controlling the C2 flying dragon to spit out clay bombs to hit Gaara, a rumbling sound was heard, but all were blocked by Gaara. Oh, you have some ability, but can you block it next? Deidara controlled the dragon to open its mouth, and hundreds of mine bombs poured out in an instant. Boom boom boom. The violent explosion caused the smoke to cover Gaara, and the sand in the sky could be vaguely seen. Deidara opened his hands, and white clay kept falling out of his palms. A humanoid creature formed and ran towards Gaara. Gaara used sand to resist the attack, but the clay creature seemed to be like water, drilling out from the gap in the sand, and then a ray of light appeared. Gaara frowned. Bang! The sound of the explosion sounded, sparks scattered, and smoke rose. Gaara was blown away directly. Deep gullies were drawn under Gaara's feet, and when Gaara raised his head, sand was faintly falling around his eyes. Gaara just used the sand armor to avoid Deidara's attack. Looking at Gaara's appearance, Deidara continued to laugh, as if experimenting with his own explosive ability, constantly using various clays to create violent explosions. C2 Flying Dragon Guided Missile. The C2 series is Deidara's most commonly used ninjutsu, which is more powerful than C1. It can control the flying dragon to spit out bombs. It is a huge bomb in itself and also acts as a launcher. A flying pig-like bomb is ejected from the dragon's mouth, causing a strong explosion. In the original work, this move is so powerful that even Sasuke has to activate the Heaven's Curse seal form to block it, and he can't block it many times. Gaara used sand to block it, but every time he blocked it, it would consume a lot of Gaara's chakra. Chapter 266. Gaara looked at Deidara calmly. After a brief fight, Gaara roughly understood Deidara's ability. With powerful explosive power and hundreds of bombs, it is estimated that a small country can be easily destroyed. Bombs made of clay have a fast launch speed and air control ability. It is difficult for a Jonin to resist, but if the damage is only this, then I will definitely not lose. Gaara quickly analyzed some information about Deidara. Desert funeral. Gaara made a seal with one hand, and the sand swarmed up as if it had vitality. All the bombs scattered by Deidara were wrapped in sand. Bang bang bang. A few dull explosions sounded, and the sand was broken a little, but it was harmless. The sand continued to fly towards Deidara. Seeing this, Deidara hurriedly controlled the flying dragon to fly away. Sprinkled some spider-like C1 bombs, made seals with both hands, and a burst of sound, and a burst of fire appeared in an instant. After dodging Gaara's attack, Deidara threw out C2 bombs again, trying to continue to consume Gaara's chakra. Gaara snorted coldly, quickly formed a seal with his hands, and the sand formed a huge palm to grab Deidara. A hand several dozen meters long instantly covered the sunlight above Deidara, and the bombs thrown by Deidara had no effect on this giant palm. Deidara directly used a huge amount of bombs to offset Gaara's attack. Damn, let's see how you can block this move. Deidara gritted his teeth, flew into the sky, and a large amount of white liquid like clay spurted out of his mouth. C3/18. A figure that looked a little fat, hundreds of meters long, flew down from the sky, and Gaara's eyes changed slightly. This was Deidara's extremely lethal attack, with the power to easily destroy a town, and a super explosion with an attack range of more than 1 mile. Gaara quickly gathered sand and covered the sky, as if to cover it. Such a large amount of sand has spread out of the sky within a radius of 1 mile. Art as explosion, Deidara shouted excitedly. Violent explosions and flames appeared, and Gaara's chakra was extracted in large quantities, like a canopy protecting the ninjas and civilians below. Damn it, I want to help Gaara-sama. The ninjas below shouted. Don't worry, the enemy in front of us is not a threat, just leave it to me. Organize the people to evacuate. Gaara's voice sounded, making the sand ninjas below feel ashamed. When the enemy appeared, they couldn't even help a little. It was really shameful. Ha ha ha, with such a large area of sand, how much chakra do you have? Deidara was proud and laughed. Chakra, I don't lack it now. Gaara murmured, with a smile on his face. His body is mixed with the unique chakra of the one-tailed Shukaku. With the supply of Shukaku, he has already stood at the top of the ninja world in terms of chakra. If it was Gaara in the original work, Shukaku would not lend chakra to the current Gaara at all, but now it is different. Naruto promised to restore Shukaku's freedom in the future. He will certainly not sit and watch Gaara get into trouble. Gaara, who has already felt Deidara's strength, showed a sarcastic smile. If this is all you have, then stay here. An inexplicable breath appeared on Gaara's body, and the surrounding sand trembled slightly. A lot of sand containing iron appeared around Gaara. This is sand iron, which has a very high iron content. Magnetic release super railgun. Some fine lightning burst out from Gaara's body, and a destructive momentum emerged from Gaara's body. It makes people palpitate. A Fae, or Obito, who was watching the show from a distance, looked condensed. He felt that this scene seemed a little familiar. The iron sand in front of Gaara was rendered with a layer of silver-white brilliance. Then, Gaara pushed all the iron sand in front of him out, and several brilliant electric lights appeared, spinning and circling in the blink of an eye, and arrived in front of Deidara. Damn, what kind of ninjutsu is this? Deidara was horrified and jumped off the flying dragon in an instant, barely avoiding Gaara's attack, but the flying dragon was destroyed into ashes in the blink of an eye. It is conceivable how much damage the attack caused. It's not over yet, Gaara murmured, and the brilliant white light instantly turned back and split into 5 small beams of light attack. Deidara's heart trembled, and he hurriedly ran forward. A series of light exploded next to Deidara, and a pit appeared on the ground in an instant, and the area around the pit turned into scorched earth. Deidara flew out, sleeves the coin was already half broken. He looked at Gaara with lingering fear. How could such an attack be possible? If he hadn't used the substitute technique to escape just now, he wouldn't have killed a cuff. I'm afraid he lost a hand. A Fae, who was not far from here, no longer had that funny temperament, but was deep, and his face was even worse. He felt that this attack was a bit like the attack of Uchiha Sasuke, except that the coin was replaced by iron sand, but Gaara's attack seemed more flexible. Uchiha Sasuke's attack was a straight line, while Gaara could divide and control the direction, which was even more difficult than Uchiha Sasuke's attack. In fact, the reason why Gaara was able to use the railgun like this was thanks to Gaara's magnetic escape ability, which allowed him to better control the attack. It's just that the power was lost a lot after the rotation, and the attack power was a little reduced. Deidara, who was almost injured by Gaara, had a gloomy face. He was actually injured by a kid like Gaara, even though he was only a few years older than Gaara. C4 Garuda. His face sank, and a large amount of white liquid clay gushed out of his mouth in an instant. Then, under Gaara's gaze, he slowly expanded into a human figure. It was exactly the appearance of Deidara, but he was just a little fatter. Seeing this, Gaara was not afraid at all, and controlled the sand to form the same huge figure. In the past, he would never have such a fancy skill, but with the support of Shukaku's chakra, it was different. He could afford such a skill that consumed chakra. The two giants began to fight each other, punching each other, and each punch was a bang, which amazed ordinary ninjas. Deidara smiled wantonly, and the giant Deidara disappeared directly like flying ash. Deidara sneered. This is the true ability of C4 Garuda. In the original work, he used this trick on Sasuke, turning the clay bomb into dust invisible to the naked eye, which was sucked into the body with breathing and finally exploded inside the body. The body of a ninja is not strong. If it explodes directly inside the body, I am afraid that all the internal organs will suffer great damage. In the original work, Sasuke can be said to have restrained him a little, with the dynamic vision of the Sharingan and Sasuke's lightning release. Chapter 267. With such ability, even some super shadows can be defeated. In essence, although the super shadows are much stronger, their bodies are not much stronger, and they still cannot withstand the damage of the bomb exploding in their bodies. However, super shadows have many abilities to resist many attacks, but there are no more than 10 people in the ninja world who can break Deidara's move. Even some lightning ninjas are useless if they cannot observe the dense dust bombs. But Gaara happens to be one of them who can break this move. As soon as the dust approached Gaara, the magnetic field condensed around Gaara discovered the existence of these dust-level dust. The magnetic field can allow him to capture objects the size of cells, even every electron. Not to mention these dust, using the principle of magneto-electricity, a tiny flash of electricity flashed. Deidara's dust bomb was instantly ineffective. The moment the dust bomb failed, Deidara's face changed instantly, and he shouted in disbelief, impossible. How did you find C4 Garuda? Looking at Deidara, who lost his composure, Gaara said disdainfully, your ninjutsu is indeed good. Almost no one can resist the dust level attack, but I have a magnetic field, which can help me sense the subtle changes. I found your bomb when it entered my 10-meter range. It seems that you have run out of tricks. Then stay here. Desert funeral. Instantly, the surrounding sand rioted, involving a range of several kilometers, which immediately changed Deidara's face. Deidara no longer expected to capture the one-tailed Jinchuriki, he wanted to leave here. He hasn't taken revenge on Uchiha Itachi yet. He wants to show Uchiha Itachi his art. That bastard who disdained his art. He turned his head and shouted to Afei, run away. But he was dumbfounded. Afei had already run away. Fuck, Afei, you guy, when did you run so fast? Deidara's face was black, but he was relieved. His impression of Afei was still that funny. He was an interesting person. He seemed to agree with his art, but he didn't think he had any strength. He summoned a flying dragon and wanted to fly away, but how could Gaara give him a chance? Mobilizing several kilometers of sand was already his limit. In the original book, he could mobilize 1 kilometer of sand. Now he was stronger and could mobilize sand within a radius of 3 miles at will, but it was also his limit. As soon as Deidara flew up, he immediately hit Deidara with sand iron containing lightning power. The flying dragon that was hit instantly lost its effect, and Deidara fell from the air. The sand wrapped around him in a ring. Damn it! He released the flying dragon again, trying to fly out, but was still hit down by Gaara, and even he was almost hit. He tried again, this time with a much smaller flying bird, but was still hit by Gaara, and his face instantly turned black. It seemed that he could not escape. The closer the sand got, the darker Deidara's face became. He carefully thought about whether he could break the situation, but he obviously underestimated this one-tailed Jinchuriki, whose ninjutsu attainments were terrifying, and even chakra. I'm afraid he has already obtained some of the one-tail's chakra. Otherwise, such a terrifying scale of ninjutsu, plus the previous battle, would definitely not be used. Looking at his relaxed look, chakra was obviously not lacking. But no matter how he thought, he couldn't think of how to escape from such a situation. Are we going to use that trick? That's for that conceited guy Uchiha Itachi. Deidara frowned, but after thinking for a moment, he directly tore off the Akatsuki organization's clothes on his body, revealing his angular body. Surprisingly, his chest was stitched up, which looked a bit weird. Gaara stretched out a hand, and the sand floated up, covering Deidara. As long as Gaara made a move, the sand could bury Deidara instantly. But Gaara did not kill him immediately, but said, "What is your purpose?" This is what Gaara is more curious about. After all, they can't attack him for no reason. Naruto knows their details, but Gaara doesn't know. Or it can be said that almost no one in the ninja world knows the purpose of the organization. Ha ha ha, do you want to know? Next life. I didn't expect that Deidara would be defeated by a little devil. Deidara seemed to have let go of life and death, and a crazy look appeared on his face. Just when he wanted to untie the string on his chest, a voice came from behind him. "Ah. Senior AH. Are you okay?" The voice of Obito, who was wearing a mask and disguised as Afei, came. Deidara turned his head and opened his mouth in surprise. "Afei, didn't you leave? Why are you here? Now you are going to be buried with me." Deidara didn't have time to think about why Afei suddenly appeared here. Maybe in his mind, Afei used a special earth escape ninjutsu. He has decided to show his ultimate art. Buried. How is it possible? I am here to save my senior. Afei's funny voice sounded, leaving Deidara speechless. It was already this time, and Deidara's impression of Afei was still stuck in the past. "Senior, stop talking nonsense, don't resist." Afei put his hand on Deidara's shoulder, and then a circle of ripples appeared. In fact, Obito could put him into the Kamui space even if he didn't cooperate, but he just cooperated faster. At the moment the ripples appeared, Gaara thought it was not good, and instantly clenched his fists, and the sand surged, making a roar. The sand collided and instantly rushed into the sky, and the sky began to rain yellow sand. Gaara's face was a little ugly, because in his perception, the two people escaped. In another part of the desert, the figures of Deidara and Afe appeared. Deidara was still a little scared. The overwhelming sand would smash him into meat paste, and he wouldn't even be able to leave a complete corpse. He was still scared after escaping the disaster. Suddenly he looked at Afe and said, "Afe, you just used space ninjutsu. Afe, why didn't you use it earlier if you have such ability?" "I was scared to death." Because he was facing away from Obito, he did not see the Sharingan under Obito's mask, but thought that Obito used space ninjutsu. Deidara suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. As expected of the leader, the one who selected people really had special abilities. Obito looked at Deidara. He didn't want to be exposed, but the power of the umbrella was too threatening at present, and the organization could not lose any more people at present. "I didn't expect that the one-tail Jinchuriki actually controlled part of the power of the one-tail." Obito's expression under the mask was particularly gloomy. Chapter 268. A steady stream of water flows. Under a mountain, green grass stretches to the sky. Naruto is sitting cross-legged on the ground, and there is no one around. Spiritual power +5. Spiritual power +5. Primary meditation proficiency +3. After a while, Naruto opened his eyes and murmured, "Relying on the ability of God's way to reward hard work, my spiritual power has finally grown significantly. It is worthy of being a meditation method, a real spiritual practice technique." Naruto stood up with a smile. Although his spiritual power has been improving all the time, compared with the Uchiha clan, his step-by-step growth seems a bit slow. When will he grow to the spiritual power of the Six Paths level? Now Naruto relies on the ability of Heaven's Way Pain to create a method of spiritual power practice, meditation. Although there is meditation in the ninja world, it is different from this meditation. The meditation method created by Naruto visualizes his own existence in his mind. Only by visualizing a complete human form can it be considered an entry. After all, the training of ninjas is too monotonous. Naruto's goal is to be immortal. It is obviously impossible to transcend by relying on the training methods of the ninja world. After all, the existence of ninjutsu only comes from the Otsutsuki clan. In the future, he will definitely fight against the Otsutsuki. It is obviously a bit funny to use other people's things to fight against others. In addition to the gains in mental power, Naruto has also made remarkable progress in the exploration of fairy arts. Naruto successfully used fairy arts to create a magic circle. Instead of chakra barriers, the defensive magic circle created by fairy runes is more than 5 times stronger than the conventional barrier. Enough to defend against the attack of super shadows. The previous barrier was able to defend against the attack of the shadow level, which forced Naruto to set up multiple barriers, which was a thankless task. Now, 1 or 2 fairy barriers can solve the worries. Naruto turned and left here. Compared with the boring and monotonous training room, he prefers this environment close to nature. It seems to cleanse the soul and make people feel comfortable. Castle in the sky. The current castle in the sky has expanded a bit. The continuous supply of Dragon Vein energy has allowed the castle in the sky to expand unscrupulously. No one in the entire ninja world knows that there is such a war fortress in the sky. At the same time, in order to prevent the Otsutsuki clan on the moon from discovering it, Naruto also built multiple hidden barriers. It can be said that he is extremely careful. It is difficult for super shadow level beings to discover the existence of the castle in the sky, and perhaps only the existence of the Six Paths Sage level can discover it. The Reincarnation Eye may also discover it, but the Reincarnation Eye monitors the ninja world, and even if it occasionally scans the castle in the sky, it will be blocked by the hidden barrier. Unless it can be scanned multiple times. After all, the power of the Reincarnation Eye also belongs to the level of the Six Paths, but who would scan the sky every day for nothing? I don't know when Naruto's figure appeared above the castle in the sky. People passing by for inspection have long been accustomed to it. During this period, Naruto often appears here. Check the construction of the Sky City. At the beginning, people often came to Naruto to ask about his well-being, as if they had seen an idol. In fact, Naruto is now the idol of the Umbrella people, because he is proficient in astronomy and geography, poetry, science and manufacturing, etc. Thanks to Naruto's strong mental power, all the things he had forgotten in his previous life are now clearly in his mind. Coupled with the ability of God rewarding hard work, Naruto's abilities in all aspects have been increasing. Think about how he was a beggar in the forest, trying hard to survive in the intrigue of Konoha, and now he has become a behemoth. Naruto walked through the corridor of the room and came to the center of the Sky City, where some of the most advanced old scholars in the ninja world live, as well as scientific talents with strong talents. The scientists of the Sky Ninja Village were also here, 2/3 of the scientists of the Umbrella were here, and some were in the experimental building of the Snow Country. Naruto came to a room with a decent area, where some scientific researchers in white coats came and went. At this time, Naruto saw a slightly petite figure. Naruto took a few steps forward and said slowly, "Xiao Yi, you are here too." Xiao Yi, that is, the steel-style bloodline ninja Baichuan Yi, heard someone calling him, turned his head quickly, and when he saw the figure, he ran over happily. "Brother Naruto, you are here." Baichuan Yi looked at Naruto excitedly. "Well, how is Xiao Yi doing recently?" Naruto smiled and touched Baichuan Yi's head. "Brother Naruto, I am not a child anymore. By the way, Brother Naruto, can I go downstairs to play? I'm so bored." Baichuan Yi said helplessly. "Xiao Yi, it's not fun down there, wait till you're done with this period of time." Naruto said with a smile. Now Baichuan Yi is very important to the entire Sky City. In addition, this period of time is a time of trouble. Although Baichuan Yi's strength is comparable to that of a Jonin in this situation is like cannon fodder and can't splash the slightest wave. Ha ha ha, Lord Naruto, Xiao Yi's performance is very eye-catching. At this time, a heroic figure came, sounding full of energy. It was old Doyle, who slowly said, "Xiao Yi's ability has given us great help, and at the same time, his knowledge of mechanical manufacturing has also improved a lot. Xiao Yi can easily solve the problem of steel shaping, which helps us save a lot of time." "Grandpa Doyle, I don't want to learn those boring knowledge anymore. Can I go down and play for a while?" Baichuan Yi curled his lips and said. "Xiao Yi, do you know that after you learn this knowledge, it will help you master the ability of steel release? Have you mastered steel release a lot now?" Naruto said with a smile, which made Baichuan Yi think about it. It seems that after learning that knowledge, the mastery of his own bloodline limit has indeed improved a lot. You have to know that sometimes knowledge is more important than ability. Naruto looked at Shirakawa Yi and said. Shisui's protection for Shirakawa Yi was too good, or the steel-style ninja was too precious, and Naruto protected him very well. Now 1/3 of the construction of the Sky City is related to Shirakawa Yi. Shirakawa Yi can use his own ability to produce a large amount of steel, not pure iron, but steel. With the ability of Naruto and others, Shirakawa Yi naturally does not need to go out to fight and kill. A resource-based talent is very precious. Compared to fighting and killing, Shirakawa Yi can create more benefits in the construction of the Sky City. With Shirakawa Yi, it is equivalent to having an endless iron ore. Not only can Shirakawa Yi solve certain things using steel now, but he can also solve it. For Shirakawa Yi, the people of the entire Sky City treat him as a treasure and like him very much. At the same time, his potential is also huge, even above Kimimaro. Chapter 269. Oh, was Gaara attacked? Naruto, who is in the Snow Country at the moment, also received news from the Sand Village, but fortunately Gaara repelled the enemy and was not captured by the enemy. Naruto was relieved about this. If he could be captured now, it would be his fault. However, this incident also brought Naruto new thoughts. The capture of Gaara failed, and the Akatsuki organization would definitely target it. And the one tail in Gaara's body is crucial. After all, if you want to reproduce the 10-tail, you have to start according to the number of tails. The first one to be absorbed by the outer path demon statue is the one tail. It can be said that the one tail is the most critical link. Without the one tail, the other tailed beasts can't be used for the time being. It seems that we have to build a space transmission device next to Gaara. Naruto murmured. Then, Naruto began to think about the next move of the Akatsuki organization. Obito must be unwilling, and he might even encourage Nagato to take action. Nagato's combat power should not be underestimated. Naruto crossed his hands and leaned on the table. Suddenly, he had an idea, a very good idea. Isn't the ultimate goal of Nagato to capture the tailed beast for world peace? If he lets Nagato see the hope of peace, maybe he can turn Nagato into his side. You know, Akatsuki is full of talents. If even the leader becomes his own, then it is not impossible to recruit Akatsuki. The people of Akatsuki gathered together for various reasons. As long as everyone has a goal, they will follow anyone. Of course, some people are hindered by Nagato's strength, but does Naruto have no strength? From the perspective of blood, Nagato is also a member of the Uzumaki clan, and there is also affection to talk about. Naruto's future research on resurrection cannot be separated from the Samsara Eye. Isn't it because of Yahiko's death that Nagato has become what he is now? Moreover, Yahiko's body was made into Tendo pain by Nagato. With the body, half of the factors for resurrection are there, and the boundary of death in the ninja world is not very clear. The Pure Land is under the control of the Six Paths Sage. For people at the Six Paths level, resurrection may not be a difficult task. Since this idea came up, Naruto's eyes have become brighter and brighter. It is possible to incite Nagato to rebel, so it is not impossible for the Black Zetsu boss. Black Zetsu's goal is to rescue his mother, and Keigaya's goal is to resist the Otsutsuki clan, so there is the matter of creating white Zetsu soldiers, which led to being sealed by the Six Paths Sage, the filial son. Similarly, his goal is to resist the Otsutsuki clan. As long as he can convince Keigaya Otsutsuki, then his camp will have an additional Six Paths level combat power. You know, there is still an old six lurking in the ninja world, and he has been hiding until the Boruto period. He has a feeling that the accumulation of these years will allow him to break through the Six Paths level soon. It is an independent breakthrough, not the power borrowed from the Six Paths Sage like Naruto in the original work. As long as he reaches the Six Paths level, with his superb combat experience and various means, he is not a bronze consciousness like Keigaya. However, Naruto would not look at Keigaya from the perspective of the original novel. After all, she was a ruthless person who could sneak attack Ashiki Otsutsuki. Without the ability to suppress Keigaya Otsutsuki, Naruto would not release Keigaya. Otherwise, it would probably be a suicidal act. Without equal strength, how could Keigaya Otsutsuki, a person from the starry sky, look down on the natives of a planet? If it were him, he would not be in an equal position with a group of ants. Just as Naruto was thinking, Obito, who returned to the Akatsuki organization, was talking to Nagato about what happened. Naruto Uzumaki is a variable. His strength has greatly hindered our plan. Now even the one-tail Jinchuriki has gained power from the one tail. If this continues, let alone collecting the tailed beasts to achieve world peace, I'm afraid we can't even deal with the tailed beast Jinchuriki. Now, we only need to get rid of Naruto Uzumaki, so that the umbrella organization will be in chaos. At that time, the 5 major countries will definitely take this opportunity to attack, and then our chance has come. Obito's voice came from the air, and his fiery red robe swayed slowly in the breeze. At this moment, Obito met Nagato's real body. Nagato, who was as thin as ribs, sat in a wheelchair with dull hair, but his circles of round eyes exuded a powerful aura. Deidara is really a waste if he can't even deal with the one-tailed Jinchuriki. Nagato said, slightly dissatisfied, frowning. Why don't you take action? Hearing Nagato's questioning voice, Obito frowned slightly, with the slightest bit of displeasure, then said, I can't be exposed now. If the news that I'm still alive spreads, I'm afraid it will arouse the vigilance of the 5 major countries. Make a decision early, can't let the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki grow up. Before Nagato could speak, Obito used Kamui to leave. After Obito left, Nagato showed a disdainful smile. Do you really think you are Uchiha Madara? A villain who hides his head and shows his tail. Conan walked behind Nagato, rubbed Nagato's shoulders, and said slowly, although he is not Uchiha Madara, he must be related to Uchiha Madara. It is very likely that he is a backup left by Uchiha Madara. I know, I haven't heard that Uchiha Madara has spatial ability. With Uchiha Madara's pride, it is impossible for him to hide his head and show his tail like this. Since he wants to use us, then we can use him. Nagato said faintly, with a serious expression. But he is right, Uzumaki Naruto is indeed a danger, his power is too terrifying. But no matter how powerful he is no match for God. When speaking, Nagato exuded a powerful aura that made people afraid. Uzumaki Naruto, let me do it myself. Nagato clenched his fists. Although the power transmitted by Uzumaki Naruto was strong, the Samsara Eye gave him unparalleled confidence. Nagato, your body. Conan said a little worriedly. Ahem, it's okay, just a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Nagato's voice resounded in this small space, leaving only the lonely figures of the two. Conan sighed and stopped talking, but looked at Nagato worriedly. He knew that Nagato had deviated from their original intention, and cooperating with the masked man was tantamount to seeking the skin of a tiger. Conan's eyes sparkled. She couldn't help but look at the detonating tags in her sleeves. If things got really bad, then don't blame me. To her, Nagato was her only relative. Chapter 270. In the Land of Thunder, Thunder Canyon. This is a place for cultivation in the Land of Thunder. At this moment, Thunder Canyon has undergone tremendous changes. The landforms of the Land of Thunder are peculiar, and there are countless places like this type of canyon. The terrain is undulating and belongs to the hilly area. This place is different from the Turtle Island where Kurabi cultivates. Few people come here to cultivate. This area is the territory of the two-tailed wooden man. At this moment, this quiet and peaceful place has been broken by the previous silence. The wet site even has the smell of gunpowder from the flames, and the air is filled with a little heat. It seems that there are 2 worlds of ice and fire, and now there are 2 strangers in this place. Black background and red clouds, a man who looks weird, with a shark face. The other person has an indifferent face, short black hair, and 2 tear grooves on his face. These 2 people are Uchiha Itachi and Kisame, who are on a mission. In front of them, there was a person half kneeling, panting, staring at the 2 people in front of him. It was the Two-Tails Yukito. At this moment, Uchiha Itachi hadn't made a move yet, but she couldn't resist it. Kisami's ability restrained her quite a bit, and Kisami's big sword Samahata was still swallowing up the Two-Tails chakra. She was also shocked by Kisami's incredibly huge chakra. Kisame, hurry up, Kumogakure may have noticed something unusual. Itachi's voice sounded slowly, which made Yukito's heart condense. Kisame slowly tied Samahata behind him, and then disappeared from Yukito's sight in an instant. Her pupils suddenly contracted, and a strong wind appeared from her side. She secretly thought it was not good, but her tired body made it difficult for her to dodge the attack. Bang! Yukito flew out directly, and a big foot appeared. It was Kisame who kicked Yukito out with one kick. Yukito's body rolled over several times, and when he stopped, blood had seeped from the corner of his mouth. She slowly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. The voice of Nibi Matabi rang in her heart. Yukito, run. As long as you can hold on for a minute, someone will come. Nibi Matabi's voice was full of worry. Compared with others, Yukito was someone she recognized, but even if Yukito had her chakra, he couldn't beat the strange shark man in front of him. Not only did he have a huge amount of chakra, but Samahata was constantly absorbing chakra. What made her even more afraid was the young man with Sharingan next to Kisame. Suddenly, Itachi raised his head, looked into the distance, and said slowly, "Kisame, someone is coming." After saying that, Itachi's 3 Magatama suddenly turned into a Mangekyo Sharingan, stared at Yukito, and slowly uttered 2 words, "Tsukuyomi." Blood flowed down both sides of his cheeks, Itachi covered his eyes lightly, and Yukito collapsed directly to the ground and fainted. Kisame hurriedly jumped to Itachi's side and said, "Mr. Itachi, are you okay?" Kisame looked at Itachi worriedly, and a few traces of fear flashed in the depths of his eyes. "I'm fine." Itachi wiped off the bloodstains. "For Sasuke, I will not die, Sasuke, my time is running out." This sentence slowly crossed Itachi's mind. Kisame carried Yukito on his shoulders, and the two slowly left. A minute later, a group of Anbu wearing animal masks appeared. There are traces of fierce fighting, and there is a lot of chakra around. Report to Lord Raikage quickly, Lord Yukito is in trouble. The leading Anbu touched the ground, and the voice came out from under the mask. Swish, swish, swish. Soon, several people turned into shadows and disappeared. In the office of the Raikage smashed the table in front of him after hearing the news, but at this moment Mabui's attention was not on the table smashed by the Raikage, but on the missing Yukito. Who on earth could kidnap Yukito in such a short time? What is their purpose? Mabui hugged her chest with one hand and supported it with the other hand. Her majesty, which was almost comparable to Tsunade, became more obvious under her actions. Lord Raikage, according to intelligence, Jinchuriki have been attacked in various parts of the ninja world. Even Kazekage Gaara was attacked, but the other party did not succeed. In addition to Yukito, the 3 tails, 5 tails, 6 tails, and 7 tails were attacked by a mysterious person and fell into the hands of a mysterious person. The 4 tails was also saved by Onoki. Mabui quickly spoke the information he had obtained. Their goal is the tailed beast. The rough Raikage frowned and said, "Now a large number of such powerful people have emerged in the ninja world, and their goal is still the tailed beast, and they don't seem to care about the 5 great nations at all. Has Uzumaki Naruto been attacked?" As if he remembered something, Raikage Ying asked hurriedly. The 9 tails Jinchuriki was not attacked. The other party should be afraid of his strength, so he did not attack. Mabui spoke slowly, fulfilling her duties as a secretary conscientiously. Although he is a secretary, he holds the top power in Kumogakure, and she has the right to mobilize the Anbu. Damn it, why is that little brat Uzumaki Naruto okay? Raikage said angrily again. No one in the office spoke, and Mabui sighed in her heart when she saw the appearance of Raikage. She knew that Uzumaki Naruto had become the inner demon of Raikage. As long as it was about Uzumaki Naruto, Raikage would always be restless. Raikage looked ugly. Since the last defeat, he returned to Kumogakure and entered the crazy hell training again. But how can strength be improved so easily? He seemed to be stuck in a bottleneck, and there was no progress during this period. Before, he did have some room for growth, but now, his strength has reached the top level of Kage. If he wants to reach the next level, it is almost impossible without a chance encounter. Contact Onoki and Mizukage Terumi to discuss countermeasures together. Raikage roared. Kumogakure and Iwagakure have a grudge, but now they have to join forces again. However, for Terumi, he still brought the word Mizukage. Yes, Lord Raikage. Mabui nodded and walked out of the office slowly. Wait a minute, change a new desk for me. Just when Mabui walked to the door, the Raikage suddenly spoke. Mabui was stunned. After saying yes, he walked out and closed the door. The actions of the Akatsuki organization stirred up the water in the ninja world that had just been quiet. At this moment, Nagato and Konan were heading in one direction, which was the direction of the Snow Country. Nagato had decided to capture Uzumaki Naruto easily. Except for Uzumaki Naruto, everyone else was vulnerable. Naruto didn't know that Nagato was heading towards the snow country. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. After all, his strength was already the best in the ninja world. Chapter 271. In the quiet office, Shisui slowly looked at the reports submitted from various places. The construction in various places was in full swing. The Fire Country has already built asphalt roads on a large scale. Good transportation has made the sales of cars even more popular. With the comparison, the original slow carriages have gradually been replaced by cars. After all, if you don't enjoy good things, you are mentally ill. Moreover, the Fire Country has changed its owner, although there are still some remnants of forces wandering in the darkness of the country. But it is harmless, small fish and shrimps, and can't shake Naruto's rule at all. Facing these nobles of the Fire Country, Naruto only gave them, "Do you choose guns and cannons, or assist the operation of the country with peace of mind?" Those who know the times have long turned to Naruto's side. Although their own interests have been slightly damaged, they are fortunate to survive. Shisui looked at the situation in various places. On the contrary, the progress of the Fire Country was a bit slow, because the Fire Country daimyo was still alive and had been guarded by the monks of the Fire Temple. His existence made some people in the Fire Country do some small actions in secret. The best construction was the Wind Country, which built a large number of factories relying on oil, and also built various road conditions. The number of oases increased greatly, and the umbrella had a high prestige in ruling here. Except for a few nobles in the Wind Country, most civilians were not interested in who ruled them. They would support whoever could make them live a good life. And Ebizo also managed the Wind Country in an orderly manner. What is important is the development policy of the umbrella organization. As long as it is implemented, there will be gains. Naruto also fought for the mass line to gain the hearts of most people. After all, ninjas also have families. If you don't support the umbrella, then your family's good life will end. No one wants to go back to the poor life they once had. Under the leadership of the umbrella organization, there is nothing bad. Life is rich. The construction of factories requires workers, which creates many jobs and solves many family problems. Not all people are capable of doing business, and this part is arranged in factories. There are also a large number of textile companies that have been established. There is also the construction of umbrella in various places of the 5 major countries. Now that the 5 major countries have fallen into the hands of the umbrella organization, the big ninja villages dare not speak out and often send small groups of ninjas to harass. Among them, the Thunder Country is the worst, but due to Naruto's power, they dare not go too far. At this time, the sound of an alarm suddenly sounded next to Shisui. Shisui pressed a button, and a thing with a screen display rose from under the table. There were several light sources on it, showing that it was a huge chakra unit. On the right side of the screen, it was the reconnaissance unit reporting that a huge chakra unit was coming towards the umbrella headquarters. Now that the umbrella organization has almost fully entered the information age, Shisui frowned slightly. Now that the umbrella is in full swing, who dares to find trouble with the umbrella organization at this time? Could it be? Shisui thought of a possibility. It seems that only the Akatsuki organization dares to deal with them at this time. Next to Shisui was a member of the Uchiha family. He said slowly, "Brother Shisui, do you want to report this to Lord Naruto?" Shisui waved his hand and said, "Not for now. If Naruto has to deal with everything, then what do we need? Gather a team and block the enemy outside." Yes. This ninja from the Uchiha family has long lost his former youthfulness. He is now an elite ninja at the level of Jonin, named Uchiha Zan. Shisui changed into a combat uniform and looked at the assembled team. There was no outstanding strength, but they were all at the level of Jonin, with a total of 20 people. "Let's go," Shisui said without any nonsense, and then everyone suddenly turned into black shadows and disappeared. 20 miles away from the umbrella organization, Nagato had found a hiding place, and Pain Six Paths was heading forward. At this time, Nagato suddenly opened his eyes and said to Conan beside him, "Someone is coming from the opposite side, it's Uchiha Shisui." "Hey, you only brought 20 people with you, am I underestimated?" Nagato snorted coldly, seeming a little angry, but his tone showed his indifference. At this moment, Shisui didn't know that he was about to face the big boss of the Akatsuki organization. Soon, Shisui arrived at the destination, and what caught his eyes were several people wearing black clothes with red clouds, who seemed to be members of the Akatsuki organization. What shocked Shisui the most was that the eyes of the people in front of him were all samsara eyes. His heart was suddenly filled with suddenly trembled. Suddenly remembered what Naruto said to him, that the samsara eye has the ability to create the six paths identity. Could this be the six paths clones created by the samsara eye? After all, if there are 6 people who control the samsara eye, this is almost impossible. After figuring out the key, his heart calmed down immediately. But there was no contempt in his heart. Because Naruto once said that the leader of the Akatsuki organization has a strength far beyond the level of Kage. Shisui did not disbelieve it, because the samsara eye explained everything. The leading Tendao showed an extremely indifferent expression, as if the gods in the sky looked down on the ants on earth. Shisui drew out the sword, and a sharp meaning appeared on his body. At this time, in the Umbrella organization, Izumi also learned that Shisui had hastily taken a few people to meet the enemy. Izumi snorted, "Brother Shisui didn't even inform me. What if something goes wrong? A lion will fight a rabbit with all its strength." However, Izumi also knew that Shisui had recently injected the perfect Hashirama cells, and he must have wanted to fight. His Mangekyo had reappeared, but his pupil technique could not be used for the time being. He was the same. The power of the perfect Hashirama cells made him no longer at risk of blindness. She had also felt it before, and had been suppressing the power of using pupil techniques. And now, she has no risk of blindness, and she has few opponents in the Kage level. At this time, on Shisui's side, the long sword that Shisui drew out made Tendo Pain frown. He actually felt a threat from the sword. The two sides looked at each other quietly, and Shisui observed the other side's flaws. 2 minutes passed, and Shisui did not move at all, and was quietly observing. Fine beads of sweat appeared on Shisui's forehead. The other side looked unconcerned, as if he was not worried about his attack at all. There was no way, Shisui could only take the initiative, and the other side brought him great pressure. He was afraid that if he didn't take action, their momentum would be completely suppressed. The whole person turned into countless figures and rushed towards Pain. The sword light in the middle was bright, and there was a sense of splitting the sky. Facing Shisui's attack, Tiandao slowly uttered a few words, "Shinra Tensai." His eyes were full of indifference, and countless illusory figures disappeared in an instant. The surrounding ground seemed to be pushed out by some force, and was directly forced back by the powerful force. Chapter 272. Hand over the 9 tails Jinchuriki. Pain's voice sounded, as if the person in front of him was just a small minion, looking down on everything. Shisui suffered a small loss, and the Scarlet 3 Magatama appeared in his eye sockets, and turned into dozens of clones to attack again. The 20 Jonins around him were not idle either, and they used ninjutsu to attack the rest of Pain. "You want me to hand over Naruto? It's just a foolish dream, take my sword." Shisui slashed with a sword, and there was a 3-foot blade light. When he slashed down with a sword, it seemed that the sky and the earth changed color. Even Pain's face became serious. Several people jumped away in a hurry, and a deep gully was cut on the ground. Fire style, Great Dragon Fire technique. Then Shisui formed a seal with one hand again, and a huge fire dragon swept out. The air suddenly exuded a hot breath. At this time, Hungry Ghost suddenly appeared in front of the ninjutsu, stretched out a hand, and saw the fire dragon getting smaller and smaller, as if there was a suction force absorbing the ninjutsu's chakra. In fact, this is the ability of Hungry Ghost, which can absorb most of the ninjutsu chakra and make it invalid. In the original work, most of Jiraiya's ninjutsu were absorbed by Hungry Ghost. What a weird ability, absorbing chakra. Should I really say it's worthy of the Samsara Eye? After just one fight, Shisui judged the ability of Hungry Ghost. So according to this, the 6 people on the other side have 6 different abilities. Samsara Eye is really strange. Shisui was shocked. Gathering intelligence is a basic quality of a ninja, but it does not rule out that the other party has other special abilities. Shisui once again launched 6 flame attacks, hitting Pain's 6 paths respectively, and the 3 Magatama Sharingan flashed. After a moment, the chakra was absorbed by Hungry Ghost again, and the flames slowly dissipated like rootless duckweed. Shisui frowned, not because he was surprised that his attack was absorbed again, but because the illusion he launched did not work. Immune to illusion. Is my illusion level too low? Without any hesitation, Shisui directly used the Mangekyo Sharingan. He felt a strong pressure from these people. Don't look at the 2 attacks in a short period of time, in fact, they were all in an instant. At this time, the team had just rushed to the side of 6 paths Pain. The animal path quickly summoned a summoning technique, and several summoned beasts were summoned, and their aura was not weaker than that of a Jonin. Looking at the men brought by Shisui, they didn't care at all, as if these were not 20 Jonin, but 20 Genin. And the other few Pains, with their agility, dodged the attacks of these ninjas while turning and moving. The Heavenly Path Pain looked at these scenes coldly, unmoved at all. Shisui had already chopped over with a knife. Tendo Pain slightly turned his body, and the knife chopped down in front of Pain's face, and an arc of white light flashed from the blade. Feel the pain, Shinra Tensai. A strong repulsive force appeared, and Shisui secretly thought that it was not good, and the knife was in front. Boom! Shisui's body fell directly on the ground, causing a large amount of dust. I have experienced too many deaths, and their pain has made me grow up. Ignorant children can only grow up after knowing pain. Pain looked at Shisui, who stood up and said in a flat tone. Shisui frowned when he heard it, but Pain spoke again. I have grown beyond mortals in the pain of infinite existence, and transformed from a mortal into a god. Pain looked high and mighty, which made Shisui frown again. In Naruto's words, this is a disease and must be cured. Shisui opened his mouth slowly and said, what is your purpose? Shisui also practiced martial arts, and his body was much stronger than before. Otherwise, he would probably suffer a lot of damage in front of this Shinra Tensai. In order to bring peace to the world must feel pain. If a big country starts a war at will, then I will let them taste the pain of war. Only when the world feels real pain will they dare not start a war at will. We collect tailed beasts and create weapons that can destroy a country in an instant. Only then will they dare not start a war again. Pursue peace in pain. Only by empathizing can the world be brought to a stable and peaceful state. Pain's voice sounded, and Shisui's scalp numbed instantly, but he strangely felt that he seemed to have some reason. Shisui immediately shook his head and looked at Pain. This was probably another unfortunate person who suffered from the devastation of war. The idea of making the world feel pain will only make the people of the world fall into greater fear. This is not the peace he wants. Making weapons to achieve deterrence will only make people live in fear. You are trapped in the devil. This method can't achieve peace at all. Deterrence will only make people live in fear. Shisui looked at Pain, a little emotional. The man in front of him was a bit like Itachi, and had gone to extremes. Their understanding of peace is too self-centered. Compared with them, he had someone to help him. To achieve peace, only Redism. Only true unification, military deterrence can only achieve peace for a period of time, and it will also make people immersed in the fear of threats. And the lives of the people have not changed at all. The absence of war does not mean that peace has been achieved. He has a better pursuit, which is to improve the happiness of the people in the ninja world, so that everyone can enjoy the joy brought by life. This is the real peace. Sir, if you want world peace, then you can join our organization. Our organization has a definite policy leadership. Only we can lead the world to achieve real peace. Shisui said, his tone full of sincerity. Enough. Stop talking. Your so-called justice is not worth mentioning in my eyes. You started a war and attacked the 5 major countries. Is this what you call peace? I only saw blood and pain. If you can join our organization and let the world feel pain, I will let you know what true peace is. Pain said coldly. In his heart, only he is right. Hey. Shisui felt that he was laughed at. Why should I argue with a madman? Neurosis or something, just treat it. In Naruto's words, just beat him up. Without the mind of nonsense, Shisui's whole person was like a sharp blade out of the sheath, and his momentum climbed to the peak. Any blood they shed will eventually turn into a great wall of peace. When the surrounding ninjas looked at Shisui, they all felt a stinging feeling in their eyes. Shisui held the knife horizontally, and his momentum rose rapidly. The whole person turned into dozens of clones, attacking in an interlaced manner, making it difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. Chapter 273. Dozens of clones attacked Nagato, making it hard to tell whether they were real or fake. Most people would not dare to let such attacks fall on themselves. Because you don't know which figure is real and which is fake, you must intercept all the attacks, which greatly consumes your energy and spirit. This is why Shisui is difficult to deal with. However, even in the face of such an attack, Nagato was not panicked at all, and Tendo Pain's eyes showed an indifferent look. It was still the same move, gently raised his hand, and uttered a few words, Shinra Tensai. Shisui's body was instantly knocked out, and several shadow clones were destroyed in the middle. Tendo Pain's all-round attack made him almost invulnerable. Shisui was hit by the powerful attack and his blood was surging all over his body, and his body was slightly painful. Such an attack is really difficult to deal with. Shisui gently spit out a mouthful of blood to the side, but his face was not panicked at all, but only solemn. Almost impeccable, all-round defense, can attack or defend. You are very strong, I recognize your strength, but it is a foolish dream to try to fight against God with such strength. Mortals cannot defeat God. Pain's voice came slowly, arrogant, imposing. You are not a god. I am not a god either, and there is no so-called god. Even if there is, it is just an ordinary person with strong strength. Shisui's firm voice sounded, revealing a bit of disdain in his tone. Stupid mortals, you are against the fear of God. Pain's face changed, and he was a little angry in his heart. Tianian of all things. A huge suction came, and Shisui instantly lost control of his body. This is gravity. Shisui was startled and quickly inserted the sword in his hand into the ground, but after a moment, even the soil was sucked out, and Shisui was sucked towards Pain again. In that case, let's see if your turtle shell is as tough as the sword in my hand. With the help of the gravity transmitted by Pain, Shisui poured all his strength into the sword in his hand. There was a faint light flashing on the sword. The sword made by Shisui was made of chakra metal, which was very precious. It can carry Shisui's power. Even the legendary Kusanagi sword is slightly inferior to the craftsmanship of Shisui's sword in quality, because it is fused with a more solid alloy metal. With the development of science, more convenient forging methods and metal craftsmanship came into being. A sharp and resolute meaning enveloped the blade. When it was 5 meters close to Pain, a 1 meter long white light suddenly grew. Pain was startled and hurriedly released Shinra Tensai. Shinra Tensai, which was originally invisible and colorless, could actually see a white airflow visible to the naked eye. The attacks of the two collided, and Pain's invincible Shinra Tensai did not instantly knock Shisui out, but instead formed a stalemate. At this time, even the remotely controlled Nagato's face changed. This was the first time he saw someone who could resist his Shinra Tensai. This means that God may also fail. I will never allow anyone to hinder my plan. Nagato's face sank, and Pain, who was fighting with Shisui, suddenly increased the output of chakra. Shisui flew out again, and this time, he was more seriously injured than the previous times. Master Shisui. The ninjas in the distance became worried, and the other pains took advantage of this opportunity to easily repel several ninjas, as if playing a cat-and-mouse game. No, Master Shisui is no match for the other party. Master Naruto must be notified. Or other masters in the organization. At this time, someone said rationally, and then they separated two people and retreated directly to the back. Pain Six Paths did not care about these people, but slowly looked at the direction of Shisui. They were both one person and not one person at the same time. Under their gaze, all of Shisui's actions were exposed. Shisui slowly stood up. His body was slightly tingling. He looked up at Pain. The opponent only showed Shinra Tensai and Wanxiang Tinian, which made him almost at a loss. He stood up and slowly formed a seal, and suddenly 5 identical figures appeared in front of him. Shisui sent people out one by one, seemingly wanting to test Pain's ability and find flaws. Looking at these rushing figures, although the 5-second interval had passed, Pain did not use Shinra Tensai. After all, he couldn't always use the big move. He dodged easily and took out a black stick from his body. Easy after dodging the attack of Shisui's clone, he directly inserted the black stick into the clone's body, and the clone instantly turned into a ball of smoke and disappeared. Seeing this scene, Shisui murmured, "Is the physical skill so exquisite? But it seems that we can attack from the physical skill." Although Pain's physical attack is powerful, in Shisui's eyes, it is not as good as Shaoli, Ziluo and others. Shisui picked up the knife in his hand again, and continued to transform his clone to attack Pain. The huge pressure brought to him by Pain is also prompting Shisui to evolve. The sharp aura on his body became more and more dignified, and the whole person seemed to have turned into a peerless sword. He used the substitute technique in the clone to replace, thereby reducing the damage caused by Shinra Tensai. Shisui's powerful sword attack made Pain dare not touch it easily. The sharp aura made people feel that they would die if they touched it. With the continuous probing attack, Shisui also smiled a little. 5 seconds interval time. Even though he discovered Nagato's weakness, Shisui didn't dare to be careless, because it was not a weakness in the actual sense. However, this discovery made the outcome of the battle confusing. He couldn't withstand too many attacks from Shinra Tensai, and he had to fight quickly. Faintly, Shisui's temperament changed, and the whole person became only able to swing the sword. The surroundings were full of landforms that were completely destroyed by the aftermath of the battle between the two. It was simply shocking. Suddenly, Shisui's mind seemed to flash with inspiration, and the whole person was stunned for a moment, and the sharp momentum on his body also rose to the peak. "I have a sword that can kill gods. Secret One Sword Shira Slash." Shisui's whole body of energy and spirit gathered towards this sword. An illusory figure appeared, holding a huge sword, as if he was going to split the sky and the earth. Pain's face changed instantly. He actually felt the breath of death on it. How could this be possible? A black dot far away from the battlefield changed his expression. It was Black Zetsu who came to check the situation. How could such an attack appear in the hands of an ordinary Uchiha clan member? Black Zetsu murmured. On Pain's side, he was no longer calm. Super Shinra Tensai. On Shisui's side, the blade light suddenly increased to 10 meters, and the illusory figure holding the blade chopped down heavily. The two forces collided with each other, causing a violent explosion, and a rumbling sound appeared. Chapter 274. The collision between the two instantly caused a strong wind, and sand and rocks flew everywhere. Several other ninjas under Pain left behind the umbrella and began to walk away. They knew the power of Super Shinra Tensai, or rather, Nagato knew it. Several people were originally controlled by Nagato. At this time, the people under the umbrella also reacted and began to run away from the battle between the two. Even the instant body technique was used, as if they were avoiding the attack of the tailed beast. Even something more terrible than the tailed beast. In fact, the current attacks of the two have surpassed most of the tailed beasts, and are even more terrible than the attacks of the tailed beasts. Shisui's attack has reached the level of Super Shadow, but it is not long-lasting. and it is not really the threshold of entering the super shadow level. But once this incident is over, when Shisui absorbs all the gains of this time, then the threshold of super shadow will be within Shisui's reach, and Shisui has walked out of his own path. Just like Might Guy and others take the pure physical route, but now they do not completely rely on the power of Sharingan. Most of the time, it was used as an auxiliary. In the years since he lost his Mangekyo Sharingan, Shisui has been honing his swordsmanship, and finally embarked on a special path with the help of Naruto. The subtle insight of the Sharingan has allowed Shisui's swordsmanship to improve rapidly. And now, he has finally broken the shackles of bloodline combat power and successfully reached the level of Super Shadow. The sword energy is everywhere, and the smoke is everywhere. Within 10 kilometers, it was instantly shrouded in smoke. And some of the ninjas of the umbrella, the slower ones, died the moment they screamed. Only those with stronger bodies were injured, looking at the scene in front of them with disbelief. He couldn't help swallowing his saliva, looking at a few unlucky companions not far away, and secretly made up his mind to be strong in the tempering of the body after returning, otherwise it would be very uncomfortable to die like them with a touch. The survivors all breathed a sigh of relief, and some even sighed with emotion after surviving a catastrophe. Thinking back to the time when they were limited to the level of Chunin due to their talent, they had to choose to find opportunities to become stronger in martial arts. It was also because of this that they broke through to the level of Jonin, and it was also because of martial arts that they saved their lives. But what shocked them was that what caused them to be seriously injured was the aftermath of the fight between the two. The smoke slowly dissipated, and what came into view was a pit with a radius of 10 miles. The pit was covered with knife marks, and the surrounding weeds and trees all disappeared. In the center of the deep pit, a voice rang out, "You have my recognition. But God is God after all. Did I lose?" At this moment, Shisui's body was covered with scars, multiple fractures, and even his internal organs were injured. The heavy injuries and the burst of energy and spirit exhausted him. He looked at Pain's figure, which had become blurred, and finally he fell to the ground. Completely fainted. Pain looked at Shisui's fallen figure and murmured, "I want to put an end to the war in this war-torn world. This is God's mission. How can we quickly stop the war when countries are fighting each other? Just give the forbidden weapons to each country. Those who hold these weapons will definitely use their power." Thousands of people died in an instant. Anyone would feel panic. People, countries, and the whole world will know pain. That kind of fear will produce restraint, and there will be no more wars. It can be said that the world is now growing towards stability and peace. Pain will make the world grow, just like I used to. To make this world grow, think, and move forward, we need the guidance of God. This world is still just a child. To make the world grow, we must let it know what pain is. Just as Nagato was still mumbling, the sound of palms clapping rang out. Papa. You said it very well. But do you really think that things will go as you imagined? People's hearts are complicated. When there are too many deaths, it is just purgatory. The so-called deterrence can play a temporary role. As you said, pain will make them afraid. But this is not real peace, it is just your false peace. If a person is immersed in fear all day long, then it is better to die and end it all. At that time, death is a kind of relief, and living is suffering. That is not peace and justice at all. Naruto's figure appeared in Pain's sight, and he slowly squatted beside Shisui. A green light emerged from his hand. Soon, Shisui's surface injuries were almost healed. The reason why he has not woken up is because of excessive consumption of energy. Naruto quickly disappeared with Shisui's body, and the next second, Naruto's figure appeared again. "Oh, then you were peaceful and just. You launched a war against the 5 major countries and killed the royal families of the 5 major countries. Is that justice?" Nagato, who was hiding behind, controlled Pain and said, "This is a conversation between two people. I always say that I am just. Because justice is difficult to define, who says killing is not justice?" Naruto said firmly, which made people feel convinced. Then what is the difference between us? Pain's indifferent voice sounded. Naruto's mouth curled up slightly, and he chuckled, yes. What is the difference between us? Perhaps, the difference between us is that I stand on the shoulders of the times, and I have a great cultural heritage of 5,000 years in my mind. Of course, Naruto did not say the latter sentence. Naruto has no hostility towards Nagato. On the contrary, Nagato is still a member of the same family for Naruto. You were right, justice is hard to define. You are much more straightforward than those hypocritical 5 great nations. It is never the 5 great nations that define justice. They are just hypocritical rats who never come to the stage. But it is a pity that even if I am unwilling, you are destined to be taken away by me. You will become a stepping stone for peace. You and I are the same people. I feel pain in you. Pain's words came out slowly, making Naruto laugh. Is he using his mouth to fight me? But the outcome of the mouth fight is ultimately determined by strength. Naruto's aura suddenly became fierce. Pain knew what Naruto meant. Facing an enemy like Naruto, all the 6 paths of pain gathered around the heavenly path pain. He had used Super Shinra Tensei before, which had consumed a lot of chakra. During the time of mouth fighting with Naruto, he also recovered a little. The battle between the two broke out. Chapter 275. Nagato looked at Naruto coldly. A golden light shone from Naruto's body, which surprised him a little. Naruto entered the sage mode in less than a second, and a transcendent aura appeared. Naruto's sage mode was not Jiraiya's half-baked sage mode. It was not the sage mode of Naruto in the original work. Only Hashirama Senju could match this sage mode. Hashirama Senju's huge chakra and natural energy fusion, coupled with wood release, made his strength quite strong. But now Naruto is not inferior to Hashirama Senju at all, but pain controlled by Nagato did not notice Naruto's current strength, but felt that Naruto's current strength had increased a lot. Is this the legendary sage mode? It does look a bit high, but that's all. Pain spoke coldly, but Black Zetsu in the distance widened his eyes and began to panic. Could it be that this Uzumaki kid has already mastered the power of Ashura? It shouldn't be. He could never have thought that Naruto was a man with a cheat. His expression instantly turned cold, and he murmured, "We can't wait any longer, we must revive Uchiha Madara immediately, Mom. Don't worry, I will revive you." After that, Black Zetsu turned into a black shadow and disappeared. On Naruto's side, Pain started to act first, and countless summoned beasts were summoned, and the appearance of the Samsara Eye appeared in their eyes. The summoning techniques summoned by the Samsara Eye all had the Samsara Eye mark in their eyes. These summoning techniques are all summoned beasts that are hard to see in the ninja world. It is unknown where Nagato got them, or whether they are the abilities of the Samsara Eye itself. Sensing the changes in the surrounding space, Naruto showed a bit of curiosity in his eyes. What surprised him the most was Shirado, whose body has now been completely transformed into a mechanical body. And he can summon a large number of technological creations, even small missiles. The Samsara Eye is really strange. Naruto said to himself. The Samsara Eye came from the Otsutsuki clan in the universe. It was not surprising that there were technological races in the universe. But how could the Samsara Eye produce these technological creations like signing a contract with a summoned beast? There will be plenty of time for research in the future, but now let's deal with the troubles in front of us first. The overwhelming attack came, and the surroundings instantly made a rumbling explosion. The smoke instantly enveloped the entire battlefield. At this time, the outside. The reinforcements of the umbrella have arrived, and when they saw such a shocking scene in front of them, they couldn't help but open their mouths wide. The devastation, a deep pit on the ground, and traces of battles everywhere around. What shocked them was that there were several powerful chakra reactions in the smoke. Retreat, evacuate the battlefield. At this time, a voice came, as if from all directions. This is Naruto's voice. It's the voice of leader Naruto. A surprised voice came out, and the leader was Zabuza. He looked solemn and said, "Retreat." But, Lord Zabuza. At this time, a ninja said, but before he finished, he was interrupted by Zabuza. Didn't I make it clear enough? This is no longer a battle we can participate in. Hearing what Zabuza said, the ninja looked solemnly and said respectfully, yes. Lord Zabuza. Soon, everyone left this place and watched from a distance. In fact, Zabuza was also shocked. If he didn't want to lose face in front of everyone, he would probably have shown a shocked look. But it was precisely because of this that he knew that this was no longer something that could be dealt with by numbers. Even if the power of the army was gathered, the opponent's power was more concentrated, and the army was more suitable for war rather than against a single strong man. It can be faced several times, but it may not be easy to defeat the opponent. In fact, it is true. The Samsara Eye that Nagato possesses is an ability used by a 6 paths level strongman. Even if it is not his own eye, the ability he uses has reached the level of the middle stage of the Super Shadow. When the smoke dissipated, seeing that Naruto did not seem to be injured at all, Pain was also secretly shocked. He knew that such an attack could not directly kill the opponent, but such a casual look made him more solemn. Is your strength limited to this? Then I will take action. Naruto said slowly, and his momentum became more and more high. Naruto slowly stretched out a hand, and the chakra in his hand quickly gathered. Naruto looked at Pain and uttered a few words, Senjutsu Rasenshuriken Jutsu. With the blessing of powerful energy, the Rasenshuriken when it appeared, a hurricane blew up. Naruto could control this force and even make it like a Rasengan, but there was no need. He threw the attack directly, and wherever the Rasenshuriken, which emitted a strong light, went, everything was in ruins and no grass grew. Pain's eyes condensed and he roared, the winner can only be me. Shinra Tensai. A strong repulsive force appeared, and the soil around him was pushed away in an instant, and it was about to hit Naruto's Rasenshuriken. Suddenly, the two collided, and the world seemed to be forbidden. After a moment, a deafening sound was heard. A strong tearing sound rang out. This time, the invincible Shinra Tensai did not directly destroy Naruto's attack as Pain expected. Instead, it was deadlocked, and he even felt that Shinra Tensai would soon be shattered, which was a feeling he had never had before. Bang! Like a broken mirror, the repulsive field formed by Shinra Tensai shattered, and the spiral shuriken attacked Pain again. At this time, Shirato directly blocked in front of Tensho Pain. Energy burst out, and the wind attribute cutting ability instantly burst into countless rays of light, and Shirato's body suddenly fell to the ground like a broken doll. At this time, Jigokudo summoned the Gate of Yama and threw Shirato into it. After a moment, a brand new Shirato appeared in front of Naruto again. Interesting. Naruto looked at everything in front of him curiously. The Samsara Eye does have the ability to reverse life and death, so there is no need to worry about the resurrection of his parents in the future. In this world, the boundary between life and death is relatively vague, and the strong control everything. At this time, Pain also took action. Without the slightest hesitation, he directly released the most powerful attack. Chibaku Tensai. A small black ball floated up from Pain's hand, showing a terrifying suction force. Except for Pain and others, everything was sucked into the sky by this powerful suction force, even Naruto's body was pulled into the sky. The larger the volume, the stronger the gravity. Naruto can still keep his body steady now, and the surrounding trees and soil are constantly being pulled into the sky. This change instantly scared Zabuza and others who were watching. Zabuza made a quick decision and shouted, "Leave here immediately." Chapter 276. The suction force began to gradually expand, and the area of the body began to gradually expand. Naruto condensed a spiral shuriken in his hand again. With a whoosh, the powerful spiral shuriken directly cut off a small half of the Chibaku Tensai, but the Chibaku Tensai continued to expand and grow. It's worthy of being the Chibaku Tensai that can easily control the 9 tails in the original work. Naruto thought to himself, and at the same time imagined how powerful the power was in its heyday. What a pity, if you are a Chibaku Tensai at the level of the 6 paths, I'm afraid even I will be sealed, but yours is a reduced version, a larger toy. Naruto's figure has been sucked into the sky, but there is no trace of fear. Naruto only saw his hand horizontally, and a 40-meter long sword condensed by chakra emerged. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Naruto directly inserted the long sword condensed by chakra in his hand into the Chibaku Tensei, just touching the core inside. Crack. A few sounds that no one heard were heard, and the gravity stopped instantly, and the huge sphere fell down. An oversized Rasengan appeared and was thrown directly by Naruto at the sphere of Chibaku Tensei. Boom. Chibaku Tensei disintegrated instantly and turned into huge stones that fell down. Naruto burst out countless tiny lightning beams in his hands, directly hitting those huge stones into small stones and falling down. And a deep pit with a radius of dozens of miles has been formed around it. I'm afraid this place will become a fish pond. Naruto shook his head and said, and then looked at Pain, who was already shocked by Naruto. Naruto's figure disappeared again, and when he appeared again, Naruto had come to the side of several Pains. His current spatial attainments have been able to get rid of the restrictions of Kunai. As long as you sense the nearby space, you can achieve teleportation. Of course, spatial imprint positioning is still required at a long distance. In an instant, the 5 Pains around him fell down, and they had lost their breath of life. Only one Tendo Pain was left. Naruto said slowly to Tendo Pain, "We are still brothers after all, senior brother Nagato, wait for me to find you." When Naruto said this, Nagato, who was hiding behind him, instantly contracted his pupils, and an unbelievable look appeared on his face, and then he lost the ability to sense Tendo. Obviously, Tendo had been killed. "Quick, Konan, get out of here!" Nagato shouted immediately. "Nagato, what happened?" Konan asked curiously. They were too far away, and she didn't know the situation on Naruto's side. After a moment of silence, Nagato said, "The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is no longer something I can deal with. He easily defeated Pain's 6 paths. I'm afraid that only the 6 paths sage can deal with his strength if he is alive." Konan was silent and stopped talking, and Nagato was also silent, unwilling to say anything more. After a while, Xiaonan said, "I'll take you away from here." But at this time, a clear voice sounded, "Hello, senior brother Nagato, senior sister Xiaonan. We finally meet." Naruto appeared in front of the two. Nagato was silent for a while. He knew that this should be the magical space ability he saw at the end. "Why do you call me senior brother?" At this time, Nagato slowly exhaled and asked. He didn't think that the terrifying guy in front of him was trained by Teacher Jiraiya. "Of course I am also a disciple of Teacher Jiraiya, but I didn't learn anything from him. Although that guy is a little unreliable, he is still a good person. I agreed to be his disciple for my father's face." Naruto said slowly. Half of the reason why he agreed to Jiraiya was because of Minato Namikaze. After all, Minato was also Jiraiya's disciple at the time, and Jiraiya was also someone Naruto liked more. Nagato did not respond to Naruto's words, but exuded a decadent look. His eyes were blank, and he murmured, "I failed, I'm sorry, Yahiko, I'm sorry Konan." "No, Nagato, you are not sorry for anyone, it's this world that is wrong." Konan came over, grabbed Nagato's hand and comforted him. He looked at the partner in front of him who was hurt by the war. No matter what path he took, she was willing to accompany him, even if she knew it was a wrong path. A tear flowed from the corner of Nagato's eyes. "I failed, Yahiko, and I failed to fulfill your dream after all. It's this world that is wrong." Nagato murmured in pain. "Kill us." Nagato was completely shocked by Naruto's strength. "Why should I kill you?" Naruto looked at the man standing in front of Nagato. Konan said in front of Nagato. At this time, Naruto asked again, "What do you think peace is?" The two were stunned when they heard Naruto's words. Naruto looked at Nagato, who showed a thoughtful look, and couldn't help but smile. Sure enough, only the words of the strong can make people think. Who would care about the weak? The premise of mouth to mouth is that you are not a weak person. As long as there is no more war, the world will usher in peace. After some thought, Nagato said slowly. Do you think so? Well, according to your previous plan, you gave the terrorist weapons to the 5 major countries, so what will happen next? What about peace? Have you thought about what to do? Naruto asked 3 questions directly. But without waiting for the 2 to answer, Naruto spoke again. I'm afraid you don't know what to do, but have you ever imagined it? What's the difference between your approach and Senju Hashirama's? You also distribute the tailed beasts to everyone. Maybe you should be smarter and give an ultimate fighting force to one force to achieve deterrence. It can be seen that you know a lot about war, but do you know why war breaks out? Because of hatred. Because of desire. Nagato said loudly. You can say that, but your so-called idea of deterring the ninja world is not just more likely to cause hatred to grow. You know that human desires are endless, but you still firmly believe in this path. This is probably your last dawn. Naruto said loudly. Nagato was silent, and Konan was also silent. Naruto's words instantly tore off the last fig leaf in Nagato's heart and put the bloody matter in front of him. Peace is not in the hands of others, but in our own hands. The 5 great powers attacked each other, but I have conquered the 5 great powers now. In the future, there will be no ninja villages, but large cities with rapid development. There will be only one country in the ninja world. At that time, who will attack us? What we do and the blood we shed are meaningful. The truth is always in the hands of a few people. If you want peace, you still need powerful military force. When the vast majority of people support me and when the vast majority of people benefit, the minority will obey the majority. Only one whole will remain, that is us, and the so-called peace will eventually come. Is peace over when it comes? We also need to make people's lives better, formulate new laws, and develop new things. This is what we should do, instead of letting people immerse themselves in pain. That is just a false peace. Naruto's words were like a deafening sound that reached Nagato's ears. I know you may not understand, but we are not necessarily enemies. Our enemy is the masked man, the person behind him. You will see everything I say, and everything I say will come true one by one, but before that, I will seal your abilities. After saying that, Naruto directly sealed Nagato and Konan. With the power of the 2, they had no ability to resist at all. Chapter 277. After Naruto sealed the power of the 2, he looked up at them. The 2 did not resist, watching Naruto seal their power. Because with Naruto's power, even if he resisted, it would be useless. That kind of powerful power has already shocked his heart. Nagato clenched his hands and felt the loss of power. He felt a sense of fear inexplicably, feeling that he was no different from ordinary people. This made Nagato, who was used to being high above, a little uncomfortable. He could no longer feel the existence of chakra. Is the sealing technique so exquisite? Nagato murmured. Brother Nagato, why don't you come to my place and take a look? Maybe it's different from what you imagined. Naruto said with a smile. The kindness released by Naruto made the 2 stunned. It's already like this, then let me see what you said, maybe you really do better than me. Nagato sighed. Naruto's power can achieve deterrence itself. He is also a man of action, and even bolder than himself. The 5 great nations have been destroyed, and anyone with a discerning eye can see that the final target of the umbrella organization must be the remaining 5 hidden villages in the Akatsuki organization, and they will dominate the ninja world with an absolutely domineering attitude. Naruto took the 2 away from this place, and with a powerful space ninjutsu, he directly sent them to the umbrella base. Wait for me for a minute, I'll be back soon. After Naruto finished speaking, he disappeared. When Naruto appeared again, he had already appeared on the battlefield where they had fought before. Naruto felt the presence of chakra not far away, and it should be the people who came to support the umbrella organization. Soon, Zabuza and others appeared in Naruto's sight. The battle is over, go back. As soon as Naruto finished speaking, Several question marks suddenly appeared in the heads of the ninjas who came to support. Is it over? Naruto took a few steps forward and looked at the battlefield caused by the previous battle with Nagato. He quickly made 4 seals and said softly, "Water style, water spring." Suddenly, the huge amount of water directly filled the pit in front of him, and a lake of medium size was formed in an instant. The umbrellas present were stunned. If they were not mistaken, the ninjutsu that Lord Naruto just used was only AC level water style ninjutsu. Moreover, there are 8 seals, right? When did it become 4? Did I learn a fake ninjutsu? When ordinary people use this ninjutsu, they can only create a small pond at most, but the facts are in front of us, and there is indeed a gap between people. Even Zabuza is a little autistic. Isn't Naruto good at earth style and wind style ninjutsu? How can he be so proficient in water style? And on this scale, even a man who signed a contract with the sea during transmission would find it difficult to use AC level water style ninjutsu like this. However, considering Naruto's record, it is not impossible. This man has the ability to turn decay into magic. Only such a person can lead them to success. What are you looking at? Isn't this a basic operation? You little brats are lazy in training, and now you are like a country boy who has never seen the market. Go back and train twice as much. Zabuza shouted immediately. As a leader, he naturally cannot show his cowardice. I haven't seen the world, have I? Didn't I just come from the countryside? At this time, a ninja in the team whispered that he was sent to the headquarters because of his good talent. Huh. Although the voice was small, Zabuza still heard it, and immediately stared at him with his eyes, scaring him to shiver. Okay, Zabuza, don't embarrass these juniors. I heard that you need 44 seals to cast the water dragon bullet, but I only need 4. At this time, a ninja in his 30s patted Zabuza on the shoulder. He was an elite Jonin level ninja and had a good relationship with Zabuza and others. Ha 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 ha. At this time, a laugh rang out, which made Zabuza's face black. Retreat. After shouting angrily, Zabuza turned around and left. Naruto used Flying Thunder God to return to the Umbrella Organization again. He had previously placed Nagato and the others in his residence, which was not small and could be said to be a large manor. Seeing Naruto return, the two couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. In this unfamiliar environment, although they felt no danger, the two who had lost their power felt a little uncomfortable. Sister Xiaonan, Brother Changmin, Sister Xiaonan can come and see the situation of our organization with me. As for Brother Changmin, you should take care of your body first. We can give you the best prosthesis. You can enjoy the best medical treatment. Ming the man said slowly that Nagato should not appear in front of everyone now. After all, Nagato now looks like he will die soon. The Uzumaki clan was originally known for its vitality, but now Nagato's hair has lost its luster, and there are some white hairs in his red hair. This is a symbol of serious loss of vitality, and his legs and feet are disabled because of the original battle. The whole person is as thin as a rib. Conan nodded to Nagato, and then Conan followed Naruto out, and before leaving, he changed Conan into a ninja outfit. Although not many people know Conan, the Akatsuki clothes she wears are still very famous. In the current ninja world, Akatsuki wears black-bottomed red cloud clothes, which can be said to be known to everyone. Of course, among the ninja ranks. The two walked out and came to the gathering area, which is the core area of the umbrella, where schools, experimental buildings, etc. are all here. Sister Xiaonan, let me show you the environment of our organization. Naruto said with a smile, and Xiaonan was slightly stunned by his warm smile. The two walked step by step, and there were often people looking at Naruto and talking and whispering something. Naruto was quite helpless. With his current body sensitivity, he naturally heard what they were saying. Hey, look at the girl next to Naruto, so magnificent. You rotten girl, shouldn't we pay attention to when there was such a beautiful girl next to Naruto? This girl is so elegant, could it be that Naruto likes this style? But she seems to be a little older. I heard that Naruto is not a childhood sweetheart with the daughter of the head of the Hyuga family. Shish. Naruto is coming, don't talk about it. Naruto passed by several people. Hello, Naruto. Naruto nodded and said, hello. After that, several girls looked at Naruto's back and showed some admiration and love. Xiaonan looked around with interest, and at the same time, looked at Naruto. Naruto was not cold and harsh to the people in the organization. How could he convince his subordinates? As if he saw through Xiaonan's thoughts, Naruto said slowly, those in high positions do not separate themselves from the public into two groups to gain their respect and obedience. To gain respect, it mainly depends on what you do and how you do it. Naruto's words made Xiaonan a little stunned, as if she did not understand the meaning of Naruto's words. Naruto did not continue to speak, but walked straight forward. Chapter 278. Ino. Isn't that Naruto? Why is he walking with a strange woman? Sakura suddenly poked Ino. They are now ninjas in the medical hospital. Although the major families of Konoha returned to Konoha, they still sent several children to the umbrella organization for training, and it is safer here. Ino was stunned when she heard Sakura's words, and turned her head to look. Naruto was wearing a white and gold imperial robe, matched with that dazzling hair, and there was a smile on the corner of his mouth, which made Ino infatuated for a while. Ino. Sakura looked at her best friend in front of her speechlessly. Their relationship is much better now than in the original book. Ino reacted at this time and said in panic, what's wrong? Sakura. Ino, didn't you see the woman next to Naruto? There is another woman next to him. Does Hinata know? It's such a beautiful woman. Sakura said immediately. Conan's charm is naturally very lethal in front of these slightly immature girls. Especially Xiaonan's cold temperament and the precipitation left by the years, just like a ripe peach. Ino immediately looked at Xiaonan, and that temperament made her stunned for a moment. She looked down at herself again, and her feet were invisible, but compared with others, it seemed that she was still far behind. She couldn't help but pout. She raised her head again and looked in the direction of Naruto and the others, and couldn't help feeling a little sad. In the ninja world, except for the nobles, most ninjas are monogamous. Naruto's figure quickly disappeared in front of the two. This is the school, the cradle of art talent cultivation. Naruto pointed to a tall building gate in front of him and said. Xiaonan looked around, and at a glance, the environment inside was beautiful and the area was wide. Naruto introduced again. Our education here is not a 6-year system like the ninja village, but is divided into elementary school, junior high school, and university. When you get to university, you are basically a reserve warrior. You don't study much in school, but complete corresponding tasks and work, and advocate practice. Naruto told Xiaonan the corresponding simple and clear explanation. Let you see it yourself. Naruto stepped into the campus. Before entering, Naruto cast a simple little illusion for the two of them, because every time he came to school, he would be crazily sought after by students. The feeling he gave these students in school was stronger than that of the third-generation Sarutobi Hiruzen in Konoha. Because Naruto's record is much stronger than that of the third generation. In addition, Shisui can shape the image of Naruto in the children's hearts. It's nothing to have this. Naruto's situation is also recorded in the book. He created the Umbrella Organization, grew from a demon fox to a hero, brought happiness to the residents of the ninja world, created the Seven Colors Chamber of Commerce, supported scientific development, reform, overthrew the rule of the aristocracy, abolished slavery, etc. Naruto's achievements are simply too many. This also caused Naruto to be almost deified in the Umbrella Organization. The two came to an open space, but because of the illusion, no one noticed them. At this moment, several people gathered together, looking about 10 years old, and were discussing the practice of ninjutsu and martial arts. Haha, I have learned wind style, wind cutting, fire style, blazing palm, fire style, Great fireball technique, isn't it awesome? I want to be a ninja as awesome as Principal Naruto. Takagi, stop dreaming. You want to be a ninja as awesome as Naruto. I'm not trying to discourage you. Your wind and fire dual attribute chakra is pretty good, but it's not good enough for the rocket class. Rocket class Zhangzi, with his extremely swift swordsmanship and unparalleled swordsmanship talent, is no match for the Chunin. Chiba Rin, a bloodline limit ninja, can easily crush the Chunin, but they are not even in the top 10. And a guy named Moriki is so terrifying, his chakra is as high as 50 cards, which is the chakra of the elite Jonin level. There is another person, named Hyuga Hanabi, who is said to be the sister of Hyuga Neji. Although her strength is not the strongest, ranking 15th, no one dares to mess with her, and she is recognized as the big sister. There is also a guy named Yuzuru Hanyu, who is said to be from the Iron Country and has a relationship with the legendary Mifune. Using swordsmanship and martial arts, he can cut out sword energy. Hiss. It's so terrifying. Yuri, how do you know so much information? These friends together started to discuss. The rocket class is said to be very mysterious. If you want to enter the rocket class, you must have a strong talent. The people in it are all future strong men. Everyone in it is no worse than a Chunin. Hehe, who told me that I have a cousin in the rocket class? Ueno Yuri laughed. My cousin is Ueno Muraki, ranked 37th. There are 50 people in the rocket class, and it's not bad to get this ranking. It's known as the Genius Concentration Camp there, and the news I know is all told to me by him. Few people can know the information of the rocket class, and their ranking is not the same as ours. Ueno Yuri said again, and received the envious eyes of his friends again. He actually has a cousin in the rocket class. Naruto and Conan heard their conversation. Conan was a little surprised. These people are only 10 years old. Not to mention the rocket class, just that Ryuki is already worthy of the name of genius. Don't be too surprised. These little guys are collected from all over the ninja world. It's normal for them to have some talent. And they have received the best training since childhood. As long as they have enough points, they can also exchange for ninjutsu and practice. There is no such thing as self-preservation here. And cultivate their team ability since childhood. There are team competitions on campus. You can watch it when you have time. Quote. Unlike the 3-person team in the past, we have 5 people, including output type, defense type, control type, medical type, and command type. 5 people play different roles. Compared with 3 people, 5 people are more perfect and the battle is different. Naruto said slowly. In the following days, Naruto took Xiaonan to visit various places of Umbrella and saw the technological power of airplanes and cannons, and the magic of biological science. There are also civilians under the rule of Umbrella, the development of various manufacturing industries, the rich life of residents, etc., all of which touched Xiaonan. Ordinary people living here are much happier than she has seen anywhere else. Naruto, in the dark world, you are like a ray of hope. What Nagato has been doing may not necessarily be right, but I support him because he is the only light in the world. Now I think you can bring light to us and the world. In the dark world, flowers will only wither. Xiaonan's eyes are clear, and her eyes looking at Naruto are full of sincerity. Thank you for the compliment. This book gives you, and it may inspire you. Naruto handed over a book, which turned out to be the Red Thought Revolution edition. Chapter 279. In a bright room, Nagato was adapting to the latest prosthesis, which made him feel very uneasy. Although Pain 6 Paths allowed him to see many scenes, it was not his own experience. At the same time, because of Hashirama's cells, his vitality was replenished a lot. His originally dull red hair regained a lot of luster at this moment, and even his white hair was much less. Naruto looked at Nagato, who was trying to walk again, smiled, and said, Brother Nagato, in the current situation, you should use the power of the Samsara Eye less. The use of the Samsara Eye will gradually devour your vitality. Well, I know. Nagato nodded and said slowly. These days, Naruto has also been brainwashing Nagato. Ahem, he is explaining the truth to Nagato. And he told Nagato the origin of the Samsara Eye. Nagato also believed it. After all, Naruto's statement was reasonable. Who would use his own eyes to devour his own vitality? I originally thought that it was because the legendary sage's eye was not something that mortals could easily use, but from what Naruto said in the past few days, they might have really been plotted against. It seemed that there was a dark hand pushing them forward all along. Hanzo suddenly broke his promise and attacked them. Yahiko's death seemed to be full of conspiracy, just to make him turn evil. Nagato pondered for a moment and said, Naruto, is the Samsara Eye really not mine, but a plan of Uchiha Madara? Hearing what Nagato said, Naruto said in a deep voice, yes, have you ever seen anyone from the Uzumaki clan with the Samsara Eye? The Sharingan evolved into the Mangekyo Sharingan, then the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and finally the Samsara Eye. This involves the origin of the Senju and Uchiha. The Samsara Eye is the eye of the Six Paths Sage, and the Sharingan is the eye of the Six Paths Sage's descendants. The Senju clan and the Uchiha clan are the direct descendants of the Six Paths Sage. The Six Paths Sage has two children, Indra and Ashura. Ashura inherited the sage's body, and Indra inherited the sage's eyes. Because the Six Paths Sage was not created by reproduction, but by differentiation of the origin, Asura and Indra inherited some of the Six Paths Sage's power. It can be said that the Sharingan is a degenerated Samsara Eye, so Sharingan can evolve into Samsara Eye. When the power of Senju and Uchiha is combined to form the power of all things, Samsara Eye is formed, which is also the origin of your Samsara Eye. In the Battle of the Valley of the End, Uchiha Madara did not die in the battle with Senju Hashirama, and he also swallowed a piece of Senju Hashirama's meat. After years of precipitation, the two forces merged into one, which also allowed Uchiha Madara to open the Samsara Eye. When Uchiha Madara opened the Samsara Eye, he was too old, so in order to plan his resurrection, he chose you, and at the same time, he also chose someone to walk the ninja world on his behalf, and also to supervise you at all times and ensure the correct implementation of his plan. When Naruto said this, Xiaonan said, that person is the masked man, he is the spokesperson of Uchiha Madara. Yes, that's it. What is Uchiha Madara's purpose? Xiaonan frowned and asked puzzled. Speaking of which, he is similar to you. He also wants world peace. Uchiha Madara, who came from the Warring States period, knows more about war than you do, so he wants to create a peaceful world. At the same time, he also wants to plan for a more powerful force, the power of the Six Paths Sage. But what he doesn't know is that he was deceived. How ridiculous. Naruto sneered, but Conan and the others didn't pay attention to this. Instead, they were immersed in what Naruto said. There was someone else behind Uchiha Madara. How could such a person be deceived? You should know Zetsu, right? In fact, he is the real person behind the scenes, to be precise, Black Zetsu. Naruto said immediately. What? How is this possible? Zetsu, not Black Zetsu, is actually the real person behind the scenes. Nagato roared immediately, making an unbelievable sound. Conan was much calmer, but he also frowned and said, Black Zetsu's combat ability is not outstanding, even only at the level of ordinary Jonin, that is, his intelligence ability is relatively good. Is he really the one who controls everything behind the scenes? Don't underestimate him. Black Zetsu is the brother of the Six Paths Sage. Naruto said with a smile. This sentence once again shocked the two. The brother of the Six Paths Sage, then doesn't he have lived for thousands of years? There is nothing strange about this, and this has to start from the Six Paths Sage. The origin of human beings is mentioned. The surname of the Six Paths Sage is Otsutsuki, and his name is Otsutsuki Hagoromo. He also has a brother named Otsutsuki Hamura, and their mother is Otsutsuki Kagaya. Otsutsuki Kagaya. Nagato and Conan looked at each other, and both saw disbelief in each other's eyes. Next, Naruto slowly told the two about the Six Paths Sage and the origin of the Outer Path Demon statue. After saying all this, Nagato fell into silence. So that's it, the outer path demon statue is actually the body of the Ten Tails and the body of the Divine Tree. So, the other party is really using us, and the Masked Man and Uchiha Madara's goal is the Ten Tails. How ridiculous. Nagato sneered, feeling a little sad. His life was actually arranged. The reason I told you all this is that I want to cooperate with you. The people in Akatsuki are all talented people who can be used in the future war. They should be in suitable positions instead of dying in vain later. The ninja world has been targeted for a long time. The threat of war is not the Masked Man and Uchiha Madara and others. At this time, Naruto once again threw out a hot news, which made Nagato and Konan shaken. I know that so much information is not something you can digest in a short time, think about it carefully. After saying that, Naruto walked out of the room, leaving the two of them in silence. Naruto had already briefly explained the origins of Kagaya Otsutsuki. Could the enemy Naruto was talking about be the same alien as Kagaya Otsutsuki? Naruto didn't care about their changes in their minds. The next day, he was checking some affairs when he got a message from Sasuke. Sasuke, are you really ready? Naruto looked at Sasuke and said seriously. Even if Sasuke had the Mangekyo Sharingan, he was still a little worried about Sasuke. After all, Itachi in the original work could be said to be free. Even if Sasuke was much stronger, he might not be able to defeat Itachi. I'm ready, it's time to make a break. Sasuke took a deep breath, and the three Magatama Sharingan had quietly opened at some point. Okay, since you're going, take this. Naruto said without letting anyone refuse. Sasuke looked at Naruto's serious face, and a warm feeling flashed through his heart. He knew that if he didn't accept this Naruto, he wouldn't let him cause trouble for Uchiha Itachi. Chapter 280. Sasuke. At this time, a voice came. Sasuke turned around and saw that it was Shisui and others. Big and small, more than a dozen Uchiha clan members had gathered together. Sasuke, you must give Uchiha Itachi a good beating for us, please. At this time, an Uchiha boy who looked the same age as Sasuke suddenly had red eyes, and tears kept flowing down his cheeks. His family all died on the night of the genocide. Others were almost the same. Uchiha Yu said with a hot temper, Sasuke, Itachi can be said that I watched him grow up. He is an extremely smart child. I am afraid that his strength has reached an unfathomable level. Since he stood on the side of Konoha and abandoned his family, he is not worthy of being a member of the Uchiha family. Although this action may cost you your life, I still say, please. Uchiha Yu and more than a dozen other Uchiha members bowed to Sasuke. You. Sasuke's expression changed, and his face was moved. Although it was the third-generation Yuanfei Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo who gave the order, Uchiha Itachi was easily brainwashed and committed the cruel act of slaughtering the family. We must give an explanation to the dead souls of the Uchiha. If Naruto hadn't said that he would leave this opportunity to you, I would have gone to Uchiha Itachi and fought to the death. Yu said in a deep voice, his tone full of excitement. The three Magatama in his eyes began to change at some point and suddenly turned into a Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke was shocked. He didn't expect that Uchiha Yu had also opened the Mangekyo Sharingan. That's right, Uchiha Yu has successfully opened the Mangekyo Sharingan with the power of Hashirama's cells. The remaining Uchiha clan members have all opened their Sharingans, all of which are three Magatama Sharingans. The oldest people here are already 20 years old, and the youngest are as old as Sasuke. Some people even have girlfriends. After several years, a brand new Uchiha family will reappear in the ninja world. They are all Naruto's most loyal subordinates. Without Naruto, it can be said that the Uchiha clan is likely to be exterminated. After all, it is difficult to revive the Uchiha clan with Sasuke's ability alone. And with more than a dozen of them, in a few decades, the number of people in the clan may exceed 100. Among these people, Shisui sighed secretly. He somewhat understood Itachi's thoughts. but the death of so many people in the family could not be easily forgiven. Since Itachi has gone astray, he should spend the rest of his life atonement for it. As a good friend of his, Itachi did not want Itachi to die at the hands of his brother. He sighed and said, "Sasuke, no matter what, if you defeat Uchiha Itachi, then let him atone for the Uchiha." Atonement. The Uchiha clan members present were shocked. One of the young men stood up and obviously found it difficult to accept Shisui's statement. "Should we let him go? You know, our family members died at his hands." "Qingdao, don't get excited. I know this, but now there are only a dozen people left in our Uchiha clan. How long will it take for us to revitalize the clan? It is better to let him contribute to the revival of Uchiha." As soon as Shisui's words came out, everyone present was stunned. Uchiha Sasuke. Uchiha clan members. Naruto spit out a mouthful of water, and the tea he just drank was instantly spurted out. "Good fellow, I didn't expect that a young man with thick eyebrows and big eyes like you, Shisui, would play so wildly. Ha ha ha, you are worthy of being brother Shisui, you actually came up with such an idea. That's right, we want Uchiha Itachi to marry dozens of women, and then expand the family. That's right, he comes dozens of times a day, which will definitely expand the family. I can ask Lord Orochimaru for some medicine. In a few decades, our Uchiha family will definitely be prosperous." Several Uchiha boys seemed to have discovered a new world, and their eyes lit up instantly. "Bah, shameless." The only two Uchiha girls blushed instantly, and even Quan blushed. "Tisk tisk, it has to be you. Shisui." You looked at Shisui for a few times and said with a tisk tisk. Shisui was speechless for a while. Although he had this plan to let Itachi marry some civilians, it wouldn't be dozens of them. Can he really bear it? "Okay, stop making trouble, this is indeed a good method," Naruto said, interrupting the discussion. "According to several people, perhaps within 100 years, Uchiha can achieve revival." Naruto turned his head and looked at Sasuke said, "Sasuke, what stage have you mastered Susanoo?" Hearing Naruto's question, Sasuke slowly said, "I can already open the second stage of Susanoo, and I will probably master the subsequent stages soon." "Okay, Sasuke, be careful. If you die, you have to go deep into the Pure Land, and I will also resurrect you," Naruto said seriously. Although Uchiha Itachi let Sasuke win in the original work, this is a real world after all, and no one knows the final outcome, so it is better to be careful. At this time, Naruto patted Sasuke's shoulder, and a golden light flashed in his hand. Ahem. Uchiha Itachi coughed violently, covered his mouth lightly with his hand, and a touch of bright red appeared in his palm. "I don't have much time. Sasuke, it's time." Itachi looked into the distance. He had looked for Sasuke before, but the protection measures of the umbrella were too good, and he did not see Sasuke, and now it was time to make a break. "Mr. Itachi, are you okay?" Kisame leaned over and said with concern. "I'm fine." Itachi wiped the blood off his hand without leaving a trace, but Kisame, who had a keen sense of smell, had already smelled a hint of blood. But he didn't point it out. He took a deep look at the man in front of him. The man seemed to be shrouded in fog. He couldn't see what kind of person the man in front of him was. Kisame smiled and said, "Brother Itachi, can people who kill their companions really not have a good end? Can death really see oneself clearly?" This is a question they once talked about. Itachi leaned against the tree. After hearing Kisame's words, he stood up and walked forward. His voice came faintly, "When you pick up the butcher knife, you must bear the pain of killing your companions. This will accompany you throughout your life. Until the moment you really die, you will understand what kind of person you are. You are already covered with sins, and only death can free you."